Hello, everybody. It is me, seventh Hanuman. It's late tonight, but I have not done a live stream in a while, and I was watching a documentary, and the information in it was so fascinating that I must share with the community. Looking at the title of this stream, what do you think it means by aliens are knocking on your door? Well, to me, okay, this is from my perspective. If you're a true TI, you are going through gang stalking, and it's a terrible experience. And your approach to the entire situation can be difficult or manageable. And for me, gang stalking have been manageable. But there are a lot of TIs out there in the community that are having a very difficult time with this gang stalking. And I believe each TIs out there, true TI, have their own journey. They have their own experience. And based on their experience, it leads to a, an outcome. And this outcome is what allowed the TI to recognize that the people in public that are talking, mocking, and verbally abusing the TI are not the people you see. Those voices are definitely in the outside environment. It is a different form of voice to skull. Usually, when talked about voice to skull, the general would believe that, oh, it's a voice that's inside the TI's mind. But what I'm talking about is the external voices that the TI can pick up. But not just the TI, this external voice, also music, can be picked up by anyone in the public. And it likes to use other people in public as disguise. So when you look at a direction of hearing these voices, you're going to see people. And most TI would assume it's those people there because the sound come from that direction and there's nobody else around and those are the only people in that direction. It must be from them. And that's a very logical reasoning. And only after experiencing this many, many times for many months, possibly many years for some TIs, will the TI start to recognize that, well, maybe is it really those people? See, some TIs will get stuck and they would believe that absolutely it's those people using verbal abuse on the TI. While there are some TIs, a very small percentage, will try to figure out if it was those people. And those TIs, based on their experience, will figure out that, whoa, those voices, those verbal abuse are not coming from those people, but it's coming from that direction of those people. Hey, on average Joe, how are you? It's a late live stream, but I have some information to share with the community. So I'm going to play this video, okay? I was talking about voice to skull in public But my point here is TIs are receiving voice to skull. Believe it or not, if you're experiencing it or not, if you have not experienced voice to skull, it's because you have not had the experience to connect the dots, but you are receiving voice to skull. And telling the TI that they are him or she is receiving voice to skull, it's not going to connect the dot for that TI. That TI must go through his or her own experience. The TI must go through his or her own experience to connect the dot that him or she is receiving voice to skull, or he or she is receiving voice to skull. So if you're a TI for many years and you believe voice to skull is fake, or you do not receive voice to skull, well, maybe you should change up the way you do things, because you are receiving it, and you're gonna need to figure out how to have that experience to finally awaken yourself. Because the next phase is to deal with voice to skull. And I'm gonna show you why. I always been telling you guys TIs are special. So I'm gonna show you a segment of this documentary, okay? And explain something that's very fascinating. It talked about how do aliens communicate throughout space. And if you think about it, communicating in the form of speed of light, okay? Light is the fastest thing traveling, right? That's what we believe in physics. But if you think about it, that is not fast enough, right? Traveling at the speed of light is not fast enough, because it takes so long to get to the next distant galaxy, galaxy that potentially have life. That takes how many 80 80 light years, so it's like it's not fast enough. And I made a mention, what is faster than speed of light? Well, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a physicist, but to me, what goes faster than speed of light is our mind. If you think about it, instantly you can imagine yourself in Uranus or planet Mars. That's instantaneously. Our mind, I know it sounds weird, but our mind have a way of, even though we're imagining something and it's not really traveling physical distance, but it's a form of communication. And this is what this documentary is talking about. It's beyond physics. It's something that physics, the modern day physics, is not even touching. And it has to do with voice to skull as well. TIs are special for a reason. And if you have not recognized voice to skull, you need to. You need to recognize it. I'm not saying try to get you to become, crazy person hearing voices. Not at all. You got to do your own due diligence. But if you're a TI, true TI, you already receiving voice to skull. But you just have not experienced it for your mind to be awakened, to realize that the verbal abuse out in public, their voice to skull. All those assumptions you're making about your neighbors, about people in cars, one headlight, you're receiving lower voice to skull. You just have not turned on the switch to realize that. And you're going to need to. And I will play this documentary for you guys. It's only going to be about 5 minutes. Doing okay and appreciative of every stream you put out. Well, thank you, An Average Joe. Thank you very much. Thank you for your support. Well, my connection is kind of slow right now. I hope this sharing this screen will be okay. So I'm going to put this up. Okay, I hope the volume is good. So I will play this. It's about 5 minutes long. And let me turn up. Okay, everything's good. Here we go. Here we go, guys.
to me during our 2 or 3 hour meeting with the CI director. She turned to me, she said, how are these civilizations communicating across the vastness of interstellar space? Because the speed of light is too slow. And for people who aren't scientists on your viewership, let me explain. At the speed of light, to go 1% of the way across our own galaxy, the Milky Way, would take, which is 1,000 light years, which is the distance light goes at 186,000 miles every second for a year. That's 1 light year. 1,000 light years is 1% of the way across our galaxy, which is 1 galaxy amongst trillions. But at the speed of light, for you to even communicate and say, hey, how are you doing? And to answer back, that would be the time since the birth of Christ, 2,000 years, for that transmission to happen with what you and I are using right now on electromagnetic signals. So we knew as scientists, and that there had to be something else that these civilizations were using. And what we discovered was that they have very sophisticated electronics. And this is, of course, what Elon Musk at Neuralink, he has a company called Neuralink, is working on, that interface with directed thought. Now, this is probably where I've lost half your audience. And they're going, what? And the reality is there's an area of what's called the science of consciousness, field consciousness, where at Princeton with Dr. John, who is an engineering professor, discovered that he could set up a technology, a random number generator, that spits out random zeros and ones, and put someone in a room and have that person intend through their thought, not touching it, no wires, for the random number generator to spit out more ones than zeros. And it would. And it did it consistently. And so he began to ask the question, how can the consciousness field and thought affect a quantum random number generator, which is what he was using? And so that unleashed an entire area of physics, which people think sounds very obtuse and sort of mystical, but it isn't. And what we had discovered when I was younger is that, in fact, these civilizations that are from various star systems have technologies that Elon Musk could only dream about. In other words, they very accurately transmit and send and receive directed quanta of thought instead of an electromagnetic signal per se, through what's called field consciousness. And the consciousness field is, I mean, it sounds very Buddhist or Vedic, but the consciousness field is actually not bound by space or time. And because of that, there's no limit on the speed of it. It's instantaneous. In physics is a bit obtuse and technical to get into probably here, but what non-locality means is that it's not based in the speed, the linear speed of light or the linear speed of sound or what have you. It's instantaneous because of the nature of conscious field, the field of consciousness. And this is, to me, the most interesting stuff. Because this whole science of consciousness is actually the big science for the next 1,000 years, but we have to catch up to the last 70 to 100 years of energy and propulsion technologies that have been hidden away so we don't destroy the biosphere. But this is what really led me to leave my medical career a few years ago and say, you know what, this has got to get addressed in some sort of a credible way. So we started this research project to do that. And A Close Encounter of the Fifth Kind, this documentary, what that is when humans initiate the contact with these civilizations and they respond. That's what a CE5 shorthand is. And so we've also developed an app. It's called the CE5 Contact app. It's on all the stores, Google and iTunes, so that people can learn how to do the techniques to do this. And now we have 100,000 people around doing it, having all these amazing experiences with these objects.
Can we get a little bit more deeper into this? Because here's what I want the audience that's watching this
Sure.
that doesn't speak your language. So assuming none of us are physicists, none of us are doctors, we're regular people that run businesses, companies, investors, founders We're
Great.
trying to get smarter. So when you use the bigger words, you lose us immediately. But
Oh.
I learned when you're saying 186 miles a second for 1 year is a light year. I didn't know that before, so I feel smarter just hearing that fact from you.
Okay.
Let's go back to the basics.
Sure.
So you said something very interesting to go back to. You said that when Eisenhower gave this speech, and
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. So, notice how he said he believed that science and consciousness is going to be the next big thing for the next 1,000 years. And it is big. And guess what? I truly believe TIs are right in the middle of it. We absolutely are. Think about it. If you're a true TI and you're receiving voice to skull, and you know we're not crazy, and you can tell these voices, it's not your voice. It's not my voice. It's not your voice. It's like you're in a circle with people talking, and you can identify who's talking and who's who based on the voices. But with voice to skull, there's no one standing around, but you're receiving it. It's as if we're at an antenna, and we're instantaneously receiving these dialogues. That, what he was talking about, was voice to skull. And gang stalkers, yeah, I call them spirits, also aliens, because I believe spirit is also a form of an alien. If you think about it, they don't have a physical body. So you can just classify them as aliens. But using the word spirits makes people believe of ghosts and human ghosts. I mean, it makes it seem more human, like a person that passed on to the next afterlife. So it doesn't give you the feeling of, oh, they're aliens. But in reality, it is like an alien. And this electromagnetic field of consciousness, or this field of consciousness, based on my research, okay, I will be showing you guys this in coming April. I will show you the faces of the gang stalkers, and I will show you how big these gang stalkers are. They're so big. Yes, they can reach beyond galaxies, and they're all connected together. If that's, I'm not a scientist. So if this information gets out and gets the scientific community interested in it and do more research, I believe it's very possible that how this instantaneous thought can travel throughout space, okay, and travel faster than the speed of light. I believe the scientists can somehow prove it, but they need to turn on that switch in their mind to want to research into it. The gang stalkers have been here on Earth longer than humans. They are advanced. That is why us true TIs are confused at what's going on. And I've been saying, by calling the government gang stalkers, you're giving the government too much credit. The gang stalkers control the government. The gang stalkers control this planet. Also, the overall consciousness of this planet. And it sounds weird, but if the humans on this planet, if majority of humans are thinking very negative, very evil, that the collective of the consciousness is evil and negative. Yes, we do have this collective consciousness. And that's why if you talk to people or you watch the news, it seems very dark. There's a lot of dark negativity out there. Well, that's because the collective consciousness is heading towards that way. And there needs to be a balance. If you're one of those conspiracy theorists, there's a talk of age of Aquarius, how this coming around is going to be people are going to be enlightened, they're going to be awakened. Well, if that's true, okay, let's say if that is true, us true TIs, we're going to be leading it. And the reason I said that is because of Voice to Skull. We are like ambassadors. We are the bridge. We can pick up these signals. Why do you think these gang stalkers are so advanced and always one step ahead of us? It's because they are advanced. They've been here longer than humans. They control humans. Well, our thoughts, that is, the way we think. But I believe things are just getting worse and worse to a point where they have no control of it now. It's like the collective consciousness is gotten out of control for them. And there's many factors in play here. Based on my research, they have shown themselves in history, okay, in the past. And they're very tricky. They would show themselves when the world is at a chaos. Things are just in a dark period in time, okay, a dark time. And they would like to show themselves, and people would praise them as gods. People would be awakened by seeing them. But now, in the modern days, things are changed. If they would show themselves now, you know what people would do? They would see them as threats. Government would see them as a huge threat, a threat to the world. They would think attack first. They would think military first. That's how people would see them now. And I believe us true TIs, we can gradually introduce them to society. How are we going to do that? Well, it's going to take some type of group, a collective, a gathering of organization of something of true TIs to get together. And we have to go from there. I mean, I really don't know how we're going to do it, but I know we are in communication with them through Voice to Skull. If you're a TI, true TI, you have to know you're special. And if you believe that the government are the ones spying on you, then you're really just not seeing your own potential. Based on my personal experience, I'm just an average person. I don't do anything too exciting, or I'm not a criminal. So I don't see why the government would want to do this to me. It doesn't make any sense. And that's how I broke out of that shell, that stage of believing it's the government. But this was many years ago. So fast forward to now, this is what I know, and I'm sharing with you guys. You can believe me or not, it's up to you, but you have to have that experience in your own journey to realize Voice to Skull is communicating with you. That's why of this stream, the aliens are knocking at your door. For those true TIs that have not recognized Voice to Skull, they really are knocking, and they try to get your attention. But your mind, you need to be sharper and be able to figure this out, because here's what I see. Here's how, based on my experience, there are a lot of gang stalkers out there, and at any given moment, a gang stalker can mess with you, mess with the TI. And when that happens, if that TI do not have the no fear mentality, do not have a proper understanding, will lose him or herself, go crazy. Okay, let's just say go crazy. But if that TI actually understands no fear mentality and has a strong awareness, even when these other gang stalkers shows up and mess with that TI have the defense and won't be phased by it. And I'm starting to recognize these new gang stalkers because I would recognize the images that I receive, the thoughts that I receive are completely different from the other thoughts. So just by receiving the different types of thoughts, I would know that there are other types of quote unquote alien gang stalkers around. Some are very perverted. They would send me very perverted thoughts. And what I do is they'll send it to me. I won't continue thinking about it. It's almost like they'll make few attempts to keep sending me a thought and keep continuing a thought that they're sending me, a perverted one. But I wouldn't use my energy to keep thinking into it. And then the thought fades away. So if you're a true TI, and you should know what I'm talking about, if you're, let's say you watch pornography. If you watch pornography and you have these very perverted thoughts, just know those are not your thoughts. Those are thoughts beamed into you by the gang stalkers, and they're very close to you. And if you actually start thinking into those thoughts, the gang stalker is going to believe that you're compatible with it. So it's going to stick around because you're entertaining it by thinking into those thoughts that I sent to you. Does that make sense? And people with a good mind, think about positive stuff, will tend to attract other quote unquote aliens, okay, that would tend to give you more positive thoughts. But then we wouldn't call them gang stalkers. People would call them spiritual guide. Does that make sense? Gang stalkers are usually the ones that are sending you very negative thoughts, making you feel very depressed or making you worry about things, making your mind think about a bunch of random stuff that don't help you in life, but you just keep thinking about different things, sarcasm, making assumptions, quick to judgment, on people, your ego. So you have to start recognizing these different thoughts that you're receiving. And it's up to you to stop thinking about them if you know those thoughts are bad. And one example, I used to get a lot of what if thoughts, and usually have to deal with crimes, and usually I'm the victim, someone breaks in or someone try to hold me hostage or steal my stuff, and they would send me these thoughts and I would receive them, and they would try to lead me into what to do next. And back in the days, I wouldn't know what's going on. I would just sit there kind of like thinking about it, having those thoughts, the fantasizing those situations and what to do. And the lower voice, the skull, would also try to encourage me to keep thinking about it. Be like, oh, it's good to know what to do if that situation did happen. Yeah, in a way, it's true. It's good to think about what to do if that did happen. And I did do that for years. Okay. Not every day, but it comes and go. For years, I would have those what if thoughts. I would think into it. I would buy firearms, believing that I'm gonna need firearms. So I owned a lot of firearms at one time. And carrying firearm with me everywhere I go, thinking, oh, today I might need to use it. And thank God that never happened. That day never came. I never need to use my firearm. I have more firearms than I can use with my two hands. Now I don't have any more firearms because of this situation. I was taken in for involuntary evaluation, I was only in there for less than 12 hours, but by law, the sheriffs, they have to take all your firearms the night of, and I have to go through this whole process to get it out. But I was able to get them to allow me to just sell all of it. So I don't own any firearms, but at one point I did. I own a lot of firearms, and that is because these lower voices skull, these gang stalkers, would send me thoughts that are making me believe that my life's in danger. But I realize it's also like a test. And just go back to what I was saying earlier. The gang stalkers can come at any given moment because they're everywhere. And if you don't recognize that they're sending you thoughts and you buy into those thoughts, you're really only trapping your own mind into that negativity and into whatever they want you to think. If you're true TI, now's the time for you to make that decision. Do you want to continue thinking negative thoughts? Or do you want to practice recognizing these negative thoughts and then practice stopping yourself from thinking into those negative thoughts? Because those negative thoughts are not helping you in life. You have to recognize this. And if you're receiving voice to skull, you need to practice no fear mentality, because you have to be the Superman or the Superwoman within inside your mind. And voice to skull, if you're scared, it's not good for you. That's why I talk trash. Earlier tonight, they were messing with me. I was just repeating, the same phrase for like 15 minutes. And that got them to stop. And well, I just lost my train of thought because I saw a comment from Brandon Q. You lost your rights. No, I didn't lose my rights because I didn't stay in there for more than 72 hours. See, I know this law because if you stay in there for more than 72 hours, then you'll lose your right. So here in California, 5150, you do not lose your gun right. Only if you have 5150 and 5152, I believe. Both of them. Then you lose your right. And 5152, I believe, was you stay longer than 72 hours. Let's see here. So I just lost my train of thought, and I'm just going to read some comment here. I can relate you what you're saying. Need to be open-minded and have exposed yourself to certain content to be receptive of what you are talking about. So far, I understand. Yes, that's very true. Like I was saying, you have to have your own experience to recognize voice to skull. And you have to have an open mind because, like I've been telling you guys, that the voices in public are not from those people, but they are from the direction of those people. And a lot of the times when you walk by those people, you might just hear it after you walk by those people. They will try to fool you because that way of fooling TIs, it's common. Okay, it's like a common tactic for them. It's one of their abilities. And it seems like they do want you to be clueless of the voice to skull in public. But once you realize that they're not from the people in public, you're going to get over that stage very fast. Interesting. So Hanuman, we got to go live someday, man. Okay, sure. Yeah, I'm always down for that. But ever since that one time I had the live stream and these people showed up and they showed themselves, I mean, they told this story, this convincing story about their experience, and then out of nowhere they just start, the camera turned on and they start fisting their own butt. Like ever since that live stream, I'm kind of, not that open to allowing people into the stream. But maybe I can use one Jitsi. I know Jitsi Nerve Gorilla was able to block the camera of the guest, so maybe I can use that to allow other guests in to have a talk. I've been in spiritual warfare for 5 years only. Oh, interesting. So, what type of spiritual warfare are you in? It would be great if you can share it. I would like to know some detail. You lost your rights. Mm. People have tried to kill me. You ain't real. Well, okay, here's the thing. Okay. So, you have to understand as a true TI, we have different backgrounds. Okay. We have different backgrounds. Maybe some of us are criminals or semi criminals. Okay. I'm not saying if you are or not, Brandon Q. Okay. And I don't know what kind of friends and enemies you have out there. Okay. That's your life. I don't know nothing about. So when you say people have tried to kill you, I'm not going to deny that because I'm not you. You would know better. But when it comes to gang stalking, yeah, here's how I can see the connection. The gang stalkers can be in anyone's mind. So the gang stalker, the people that try to kill you, let's say that's true. The gang stalkers are on their mind, okay? But those people try to kill you, they might not be true TIs. So they're just people, like I may mention before. Gang stalkers control the world. And the true TIs are the ones that are aware of them. So the people that try to kill you might not be true TIs. So they're just receiving thoughts and they're being guided by the gang stalkers to hate you and want to kill you. So that's how I see the connection of gang stalking with the people who try to kill you. And if they're true TIs, I don't know. I mean, but I'm just saying that's how I see the connection. And I don't doubt that, people have tried to kill you because you would know more than me on when it comes to that for yourself. I've been in so many fights I've had to fight. Well, like I said, yeah, I believe you, Brandon. But one thing I have to say though, Brandon, like when I watch your videos, you talk a lot of shit. Or maybe you're not trying to talk shit, but you cuss a lot. You use a lot of explicit languages, and I mean that tends to make people feel like you're being too hostile. You know what I'm saying? Like that could make people feel like they're threatened by you, or make people want to retaliate against you. So that's just my opinion from watching your videos. It's the way you talk, you tend to use a lot of very strong words that could rub people off in the wrong way. It's all in your head only. Well, I don't know what that means. Voice to skull, maybe? Is that what you're talking about? But yeah, so like I was saying, I would like to have a live stream with other TIs, and there's really no way for me to know if that person is genuine or not because of my experience with the previous stream. So I don't know what else to do other than to find a way to allow them in, but turn off their cameras, disable the cameras. And I know Jitsi can do that. So maybe I need to start using Jitsi just to have guests on. So, oh, here we go. I've been fighting the V2K. I never thought about the technology side. My family, most of them are involved with craft and sorcery. I was even paralyzed one day when I was 12. It was terrible. Oh, when you say you were paralyzed, are you talking about sleep paralysis when you were lying in bed? And you talk about fighting V2K. How are you fighting it? Like, it would be great if you can share some of that experience. Are they verbally attacking you? Are they criticizing everything you do? Are they tell you what to do? Are they making fun of you when something don't go your way? When you don't get something uh, that you want, they would make fun of you and they'll mock you. Is that what you're talking about? Going through your V2K? Um, and you say your family are involved. Okay, so the family thing, the gang stalkers, they're there. Well, your family, if they're not true TIs, they wouldn't know they're there. So and if you bring up this subject with your family will just not understand. If anything, they'll get all of a sudden they'll get irritated. It's almost like they're possessed all of a sudden. That's because the gang stalkers walked you right into it. The gang stalkers can manipulate the mind of your family member. It can guide them into direction of what to say to you in response. So, and the gang stalker is already in your mind, so it knows what you're frustrated. It already knows you're frustrated. And you try to talk to your family, but then the gang stalker is also on your family's mind. So as your family's talking back to you, the gang stalkers are feeding them thoughts on what to say back to you. And as a TI, since you are receiving voice to skull, you have to realize that the stuff that you're saying in that moment, you have to go slow, because if you go slow, you might recognize that you're receiving a thought, a certain phrase to say, okay? And you might just end up saying it. But if you can recognize, that's a turning point for you, because you're going to start realizing that during moments like that, the heated moments, out of nowhere, these gang stalkers are telling you what to say, and you might just end up shouting out. And usually, when you shout out these things, it's always very hurtful. Very usually, it's attacking the other person or putting the other person down, like they're intelligent, or calling them, uh, like names like piece of shit or something, or dumbass, or like you usually say stuff like that. It comes very quick, and usually comes when you're in a heated argument. But something civilized, a conversation very civilized, could turn into all of a sudden like out in the some gangster neighborhood or something. How just talking like a bunch of people cussing at each other. No, it was more of emotional control. For example, I would be sitting somewhere and my heart rate will randomly go up and I was unable to move or walk. Okay. So when your heart rate goes up, I understand. Okay, they can't attack you, and that have to do with your blood flow. So they'll probably holding on to some of your lower half of your body and then just release it to cause a blood pressure, like a rush of blood to your heart. Um, and for you to feel unable to walk, that usually have to do with because you're in a state of trance. When you're in a state of trance, you're thinking too deep into it. Yes, you could be, and I don't know if you smoke weed or anything, because that's the one thing a lot of true TIs don't talk about. But I used to smoke weed, and when I smoke weed, they really like talking to me. That's when my mind gets very, and they're constantly talking, sending me different things. And for many years when I was younger, I would keep thinking, oh, I'm so creative. My mind is so creative. I like thinking about all these creative stuff. I would call myself a creative person. But it in reality, all those creativity, a lot of it are just not that important or relevant to me in life. Now, what's even harder to do is be creative, but focus on your subject at hand. If you know your subject, your task, and you can be creative, but stay focused on that subject and task, and try to complete that assignment. Okay, by being creative, and you need to complete the assignment. If you can focus into that, that's better for you, because it's hard. Okay, when it comes to meditation, it's hard to focus on one thought. That is extremely hard to do, and that's exactly what those Tibetan monks do. They practice focusing on one thought to a point where once they sit down, meditate, they practice not moving at all. Did you know it's very difficult to just sit there and not move? If you just sit there, if you don't focus, you're going to end up moving your hand, or turning your body a little bit or stretching your legs. You might even end up standing up if you were sitting. So it's actually hard to keep one focus, one thought, and that takes training. When the scientific community say, "Oh, people, average person have so many thousands of thoughts throughout the day," that is ADHD. That is bad. That comes from the gang stalkers beaming thoughts into people's mind and constantly throughout the day. You're a true TI. You need to slow your thoughts down. You need to slow it down. Having so many thousands of thoughts a day, it's not helping you. Because if you think about it, all those thoughts, how are those thoughts really helping you in life? A lot, probably over 90% of them are not helping you in life. And it's harder to do than said. So that takes practice. Even I'm still learning every day. So, and it's most likely going to be till the day I die. I'm still going to be learning about this. It takes practice. I don't have anxiety no more. Though V2K is telling me I can't get a woman, and people don't support me. The 30 minutes later, they're nice. Uh, well, your V2K is talking shit to you. Then do you talk shit back to them using V2K? Because you can. Um, do you play the audios? Because I play audios in the background. I'll make an audio recording myself talking shit to my gang stalkers and play in the background using my phone, but super low volume. Low volume to a point where no one can hear it, not even you. But then you know at least one bar of volume is up. So you know it's playing. Especially if you put it next to your ear, you can hear it. But if you put it in your pocket, you can't hear it. So super low volume. But these gang stalkers, they can definitely hear it. Okay, they can hear that. So try doing that. I don't know if you've been playing the audio. The audio is very important. It's like a background defense. It's like a not even defense. I would say it's like offensive skill set for you to do something against these gang stalkers. Because most true TIs receiving voice to skull, they're just using defense, ignoring it, um, try not to think into it, or try to not show emotion that is hurting you. But they can already know that you're getting hurt by it. Whatever they say to you, they already know if you're getting hurt by the words. And you're gonna have to get to a point where those words just don't even bother you. They talk about killing my mom a lot. Talk about uh, having my wife find someone with a bigger dick. They say stuff like that to me all the time. It doesn't do anything to me anymore. Nothing. What I do right away is I'll just play my audio, or sometimes I use voice to skull. Just talk trash back to them, because you can't let stuff like that bother you. You have to think, what's the worst thing they can say to you? Think about that, and just don't let that even bother you. And that's gonna take practice. But as long as you let it bother you, they're one up on you. They're definitely one up on you. And most likely you're gonna be in fear, and you're worried that when you can hear the voice to skull, you're probably thinking, oh, they're gonna be saying something bad. That's something that you wouldn't like. And they would most likely say it. They would say it. Or if they don't say it, that's because they don't have to use it on you yet. But they can use it on you. And when they use it on you, you're not gonna feel good. And they would use it on you if you start using some offense on them. Or when you start doing really good and they want to take away your focus. Because whatever you're focused on is something makes you feel good, makes you doing great in life. They would try to come in and take your focus away. And something so simple. They might not even talk to you for a long time, and all of a sudden when you're happy, they'll just come in and say something like, I'm gonna kill you tonight. And that's it. And that just totally suck all the happiness out of you. So you need to practice, don't let that bother you. So how can you not let it bother you? You have to talk shit. That's how I do it. I mean, some TI out there said they'll say certain phrases in the Bible. If that works, great. I mean, you gotta find your way. But the key is you have to have the no fear mentality against these V2K attacks. So you have to be, you're just as capable. For me, at least for me, I'm just as capable of talking equal, if not worse, trash back to them. I mean, I got to the point I'll make fun of their creator. I'll talk shit about their God. I'll talk shit about their creator, even though I don't know who they are. But, but they know. So that's how far I've gone. I talk shit about their God and their creator and the creator of their gods, the creator of their creators. Yeah, I even have audios of that. Do I play often? No, because there's a part of me when I play those audios, I do feel a little bad inside. And they definitely totally just shut down when I do that. They don't like me talking shit about their God. They'll shut down. So, do I advise you to do that? No, because you are on your own journey. This is where my journeys have led me to this point. But I'm just sharing with you guys. That's as an example. Yeah, I smoked weed sometimes, and they would, but voices like die. My body would feel weird. I felt like my soul was slipping away. I think certain type of weed can increase V2K. Oh yeah, I every time smoking weed will increase V2K. And you know what's interesting though? I already recognized lower voice to skull, but when I smoked weed in the past, okay, I recognized that the voice to skull, the lower voice to skull, had become so slow. Meaning, no, not they're not slow. My mind have become so slow that I can actually pick up the lower voice to skull because I'm not thinking, I'm not talking, I'm just receiving thoughts. But then my mind was slower because I was high. That when they beam in lower voice to skull, I was able to pick it up. I was able to pick up that wasn't my thought. Another thought, another voice came in to trigger an idea or trigger a subject in my mind. Now you got to understand what's fascinating about this is ideas. Okay, where do ideas come from? Now I realize now that I realize lower voice to skull, and I try not to talk and not to think, so I can recognize it. Idea. If you're by yourself, okay, a person might believe, okay, I can think of ideas on my own. You're sitting in a room by yourself. But I believe that it's not true because I believe that, like I say, gang stalkers everywhere. Gang stalkers are in everyone's mind. If you're sitting in a room by yourself, idea comes in when there's interaction with another consciousness or with another mind. So you have two people in a room, you're going to be able to talk back and forth and have generate ideas, right? Uh, Talking about different things and brainstorming that generate ideas. But if you're by yourself, then these ideas are generating in your mind. With what I believe is you're actually hearing these entities. Okay, if they're bad ideas, I call them gang stalkers. If they're good ideas, you can call them your spiritual guide. But then you have spirits everywhere. There are spirits everywhere. And you're never just with one. There's many of them following a person. Especially a true TI, you have tons of them following you. And you have the gang stalkers that are bully mentality and they would talk a lot more. Okay. And they would harass you to a point where you just recognize, oh, you're being followed or whatever. And the good spirits, they tend to not even talk to you at all. So they wouldn't try to trigger you to feel a certain way. But when you need help, they're the ones that send you those thoughts to try to guide you to making the right decision. Oh, maybe they'll send you, oh no, don't confront that person in public. You don't want to get yourself in trouble. You don't really know if it's really them, or they might send you thoughts like, oh, you can't prove that's them. They're the gang stalkers in public. Don't confront them. They might call the cops on you, or whatever. Those like more positive thoughts to try to get you out of trouble. Those come from that good spirit, and they tend to not bother you. But the bad ones are always sending you bad thoughts, try to mess with you, and you're picking it up and make you think that you're being followed. Well, you are being followed, but they would mess you to a point where you believe it's the people in public. I'm a victim and currently trying to live through it. Okay. Well, are you receiving voice to skull? And what do you mean by trying to live through it? It'll be great if you can share it, please. Share some detail, please. What you're talking about? Just talking about V2K 10. Yeah, you're getting V2K, so you know a lot about this. Hey everyone, hope all is well. Hey, oh hey, Home Slice, do you and 10 want to jump in? Do you guys want to jump in, or if anyone want to jump in, I'll post the link. But then, like I was saying before, kind of worry about uh people stuffing their fist into their butthole. But I guess I can block it or edit it out. So here's the link. If you guys want to join in. Okay. Let's see here. Hope all is well. They try to see what sticks, then let your own brain run with insult. Use everything you think against you. Yeah, that's very true. See, like I was saying, they'll send you some thoughts and see what type of thoughts you're actually accepting. And if they're sending you some perverted thoughts, especially, okay, let's say for a guy, you're walking out in public and the lower voice of skull will make you believe they're using honeypot on you. Okay. You see a chick or you see someone you like, and the lower voice of skull will kick in and make you believe that they're sending that chick or the person you like there in front of you, trying to trap you. And next, they will probably send you some perverted thoughts, or maybe send you some thoughts about approaching them. That's not very perverted, but maybe somewhere in there in the next few minutes, they might send you some perverted thoughts about what to do with that person. And if you start thinking into it and gets you excited, then you're really attracting those type of gang stalkers. And they're going to keep doing that to you. But even though it's wrong, if that actually did happen, it'll be very depressing, very sad. And it's probably going to get you into a lot of trouble. If you think you can get away with it, or if you don't even think about consequences, then you really are just falling into their trap. And over time, if you keep letting these thoughts in, I believe it would eventually lead you into taking action into those perverted thoughts. That's how people take action into it. Because just receiving negative perverted thoughts is not enough to take action. But over time, they will shape your mind into believing that you can take action and get away with it, or just take action and not even think about the consequences of what happens afterwards. Yeah, that's why a lot of people on this planet, that's how they all start, become criminals or kidnappers, rapists, uh, lifelong criminals. It's because they have these dark entities, these gang stalkers hanging around them, always sending them negative thoughts. Think about a person that's a lifetime long criminal, okay? A 70-year-old that's been a criminal his whole life. Why? It's because the thoughts that the 70-year-old's been receiving in his whole life have been negative, have been perverted. And it leads this person into taking those action. And this person gets caught up, right? Constantly going to jail, been a criminal his whole life. It's because all the thoughts is negative. If that 70-year-old start receiving positive thoughts, right, and not perverted thoughts, then it wouldn't be committing crimes, right? Does that make sense? It's very basic. It's almost like common sense. It's that simple. A person that's receiving happy thoughts, positive thoughts, is not going to be committing crimes. People that commit crimes are receiving negative thoughts and idea. Even if the person is struggling in life, the person is struggling to try to put food on the table. If that person is receiving good thoughts with good moral, that person will try to find some type of work to get an income. That person wouldn't just all of a sudden want to get that quick money because they got a thought of going to steal it from this other person, right? This stranger, try to commit this crime. Out of nowhere, spontaneously receive a thought of, oh, that couple or that those people over there in that car, it looks like they got money, and try to all of a sudden think of some way, right? But then it's receiving these negative thoughts. The next step of taking action into maybe kidnapping those people, taking their money, their car, like those are negative thoughts. See the sequence of these different thoughts? It's like a step process. Keep coming in, keep coming in, keep coming in. They're being guided by these gang stalkers. The person was being guided by gang stalkers, these evil entities, into doing the action, right, of committing that crime. Woohoo, V2K. Hello?
Hey, what's up, Hanuman?
Hey, what's up, 10? How you doing?
Same old, same old.
Same old, huh? You're in Vegas, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me read some of these comments. I'm hit constantly by V2K and I get gang stalked on the daily. Okay, are you what are you doing about the V2K? How are you responding to it? Chris? So 10, what's been going on with you lately?
They're just really desperate now, bro. It's just getting to the point where they will fucking, you know, it's getting like kind of pathetic. Right? Well, it's been pathetic with them inside, but really, it's just, I don't know. They'll use
Pathetic as
they
in
could like a puppy against me or something. I don't know, like anything and anybody. My mom, my grandma, whoever. Yeah.
the
I
arguing.
still want to. I still want to keep faith in family, even though I have, some kind of feeling about it. But that's their bad. We don't have control over other people or outside forces. We can only control ourselves. And people have to live with their own decisions if that's the case. But as long as they play that, because it's all acting, right? Like, say you cure a bunch of shit like the night prior, or you go through a thing, and then you meet up with friends, or you up into a gathering or something, and nothing's happening at that point, right? It's all just pure love and fun and games, right? So it's a world full of actors, man. And we live in a society where real people, I guess, are TIs, and we live in a world full of bridges, man. And there's trolls under there. And these trolls, they just try to waste our time, distract us, anything negative, you know what I mean? Anything that's going to hinder us to live the full potential type of successful, fulfilled, fun, free type of life.
Yeah, I totally understand. Like earlier for me, they were messing with me, and I had to blast my my audio a little bit. I got these little speakers, right? And they're like pocket
Yeah.
size, these speakers, Bluetooth. And
Mm-hmm.
I connect to my phone, and I basically put the speaker into my pocket as I, go about doing my things. Um, and if I get heavier attack, I would turn up the volume a little bit to a point
Mm-hmm.
where it gets a little bit louder. But it always pissed off my gang stalkers, and it makes them shut up or makes them back off of me. And I don't get as as
Well,
frustrating.
it's kind of like it's like a gimp thing with them. You know what I mean? Like it's a BDSM where they want you to be a good little whore and just take it and say yes sir and thank you and stuff like that while they're doing their supposed little torture tactics and stuff like that. But um,
Is that what your gang stalkers are
you,
making you, telling you to call them sir and ma'am and stuff?
no. But I mean that's kind of like what it feels like they expect. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, they expect you to do
Um,
what they want you to do.
yeah, and
Because
just take
let me
it
ask
and
you,
just and never disrespect them and actually respect them a lot and be very very humble and like I said, just I mean, be very like 100% submissive and never disrespect them back. That's what they want. It's like that's never gonna happen. You know what I mean?
have you ever tried to have like a? I know usually with targeted individuals receiving
Mm,
voice to skull, it's not a good dialogue. Have you tried to switch it up and have a peaceful dialogue with them?
I have, I have many times. So I honestly think it's like the breakdown is like this. It's like and a lot. I'll get to that to answer that. But it's like just a few things or demons, AI, or people that are like I feel like they're like in a dungeon type of place, hidden away, and they have access to this, and they cause chaos in society or in our neighborhood, or they make it seem like they do, but it's more like crisis actors that have infiltrated your city, your town, and they're making it seem like everybody around you in your city is involved in it. When maybe your city, they can see, hear your broadcast, um, but it's not like the like everybody's doing it to you. It's more like the crisis actors and the dungeon dwellers that nobody has ever seen before. So the dungeon dwellers are the ones that are more like the satanic root of all of it. Nobody's ever even seen these things. You know what I mean? They're the ones causing confusion. They're the ones behind like the V2K and all that crap. Like and really connected to basically the host. You know what I mean? They're the host. Um, so what's happened in my city, it's like people in my city, like most of them, they're just like over it, man. They're like, we're on your side, bro. Like we get you because they give us a platform to talk. So it's like you just speak your mind and you fucking, you talk your truth and people will eventually, if you talk from the heart, people will hear you out, and they'll connect with that. Is it annoying for them? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know really know how it works, but if people in your city know that they're not mad at you, you're not mad at them, and you're not a danger to any of them, especially like moms and dads and families just trying to work and get by, then they'll eventually just be like, okay, like we accept that. But getting to your question, where it's like if I've tried to just have a cordial, just meet somewhere in the middle conversation with them, it's like, yeah, I have, but it's so hard to understand them because it seems like they don't like getting confronted or seen or anything like that. It goes back to like I think this is like even in books and like it's documented where like these evil spirits and stuff like that and entities, they don't like being seen because they're so fucking ugly and evil. They're like giant
Well,
bugs or something.
they
They're like
always
giant.
told me,
Hmm.
mine have told me that they're actually very ugly. So mine have told me that as well through voice to skull, and
Right.
they also have told me that they're actually standing behind me sometimes when I'm
Mm,
outside in my front yard, just late at night. Because I'll come outside when it's 3 a.m. or whatever if I'm
yeah,
still
yeah.
up. Well, I start work early, so
Mm,
I'm always out. On the days I
hmm.
work, I'll be
Hmm.
outside around like 4:30 a.m. and I start work at 5, but I'll be out at 4:30 a.m. Sometimes 4 a.m. and I would hear them tell me voices skull telling me, "Oh, so and so is standing behind me.
Mm.
They would tell me they're standing behind me, and which I do believe, because living here, I have seen with my own eyes the
Hmm.
shadow people. I have seen the ghost in white many
Yeah,
times,
yeah. I
and
saw your video, some of your videos too, with some of
yeah,
that
and I have
footage.
seen shadow people here, um, or corner of my eyes, my peripheral. I would see looks like a shape of a person, and usually when it happens, the lower voice to skull will kick in and direct my thought and attention to that spot. Like I might see something moving in the corner of my eyes, and my right away my thought, the following thought to that is, oh, there was a spirit there, or there was a ghost that was there, and guide my eyes, right, my attention to that spot. So it's like they purposely try to mess with me by revealing themselves, but they want to make sure I put my attention on it. They want to see if I'm scared of what's going on. So they
Mm,
would guide me into that thought process using lower voice to skull.
right. So yeah, that's interesting. One time I was sitting at a light and I was a little distracted, and I guess it had turned green, and I heard one of them say, "Go, go." And I looked up and it was green, you know? So it's like
Yeah.
they're either around or something like that. It's
And they
or
have eyes, they can see, right? Like you said,
mm,
you were looking down and the light turned green and it
yeah.
said tell you to go. Yeah. So I experienced that too. One time I was in a diner, and I
Hmm.
like collecting star notes, okay? These currency, right? The dollar bill, whatever,
Hmm.
$10, $5 bill with a little star,
Hmm.
okay, next to serial number. They call them star notes. And those are
Wait,
notes I would
say
like.
that. Can you start over with that? Can you?
Okay, like I like collecting star notes, okay?
Hmm.
Star
What's that?
notes is like a little star next to the serial number on the money, on the dollar bill, $5 bill, $10 bill, whatever.
Oh, right. Uh-huh.
And one time I was at a diner, and I whatever change it was, I was gonna leave it there for tips.
Yeah.
And the V2K told me, "Oh, you're not gonna take that star note." And I looked down, there was a $1 star note, so I replaced it with
Mm.
something else. But I didn't even realize that.
You see,
So
that's
it's
crazy
like,
because I'm not as receptive to them. Like, I don't know. There's too much space between me and some of them, and then sometimes you can hear some of them like are like in nosebleeds type of space. You know, like really far away type of thing.
usually when you're in a supermarket, right? Like Walmart, you might hear them in the front of the store, right?
Hmm. Or like in your house or whatever, like in my apartment, like I can hear them from far away, like in way far away, like maybe 100 yards away or something like that. They're just like
Yeah.
screaming off the top of their lungs, and they're like the nobodies that nobody pays attention to, but they're like hoping and wishing that you do.
Mhm.
It's weird, dude.
And
And these things are funny. They'll when they think they got you weak and stuff like that, they'll be like ha 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 ha. It's just like retarded kids or something. I don't know.
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, they do act like kids, like childs. And
Mhm.
back to what you were saying, like how you can hear them about 100 yards away or further away from you, right? You can tell that you can judge the distance of the
I think
voice
they
of
use
skull.
the cell phone antennas. That's what they
Well,
use,
well, see,
and the electric grid too,
see,
with
I
the
would
fiber optics and all that stuff.
believe that, but
Mhm.
to me, they are its own entity. They can move,
Oh,
and
yep.
and I have done experiment, like scuba diving,
Hmm.
putting myself in a steel container, turn off all the powers, so like being out in nature, like hiking trail, so
Hmm.
by doing those things over the years, I can kind of, you know, figure out that
I think there's
there's
different facets of it though too, and then there's different people that can connect to it, kind of like a metaverse type of thing, where certain people and entities have different access to our space and reality. Um, where I think maybe it is people. Do you think that they can broadcast it out to your society, like the
yeah,
city and the world?
yes,
Because
yes, you
that's what
can.
it feels like. Like
Yep.
people are like I said, like they're so. I say it all the time. Like I'm not here against people. I'm a nice guy. Like if somebody opens the door for me at a gas station, I'll say thank you. I'll do the same. It's about
Yes.
just trying to be as cordial and civil and respectful. If they're gonna act and pretend, bro, like you do the same, but do it genuine, like in a genuine type of way. And then after a while, you'll just get along with everybody in society, or most people.
Yeah. So
You
you're
know,
a nice person, but you're not a pushover.
exactly. Yeah.
Yes, totally understand. I think most TIs are like that. And I want to say back to what I was saying, how you're talking about, you can tell, you can judge the distance of the voice to skull. Like
Mm-hmm.
you said, they're 100 yards away. So with that, that is how some TIs, they believe that, oh, pigeons or birds or transmitting voice to skull. It's because I went through this, okay? In the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, I would hear these voices skull from above me. And when I look up, I would just see like an apartment building or whatever, a building. And I actually believed, okay, now I know when I looked up, the lower voice to skull was guiding my thought process, because when I look up and the only thing I saw was pigeon chilling up top. And the next thought in my mind was, wow, so it's very possible that it could be some
Mm-hmm.
animal drones, you know? That's during the time I still believe it was like,
You know what
wasn't
I
sure
think it
if the
is? I
government or
think
what.
these entities or whatever, so they've ionized the air so much, right? There's so many metals in the air, um, that it can connect. So you know how people say like, oh, when there's running water, or like some kind of engine or motor, or like a power saturated area, they can hear something there, like they're there.
Like
So
running water
it's
in fans.
so it's like the energy that's giving out. So maybe like an animal, it's got its own little energy source, and maybe its own voltage
Well,
that they
okay.
give out.
You ever heard of like this this humming sound? Like there's this theory about this hum that's always in the background. And it's
There's
like, to me,
a lot going on with me. There's like literally like 30, 40 things that are just like they're doing this, and there's one saying this, one's doing that, one's doing this play, one's following up on this, and this and that. So it's like a kamikaze against me.
well, see, to me, it's I know, well, I have tinnitus, okay? And I believe,
Same.
yeah, I believe all TIs have tinnitus. I believe actually all people have tinnitus, but just a lot of people, they don't recognize it. So
Hmm.
tinnitus, sometimes it can be very quiet where I have to plug my ears to kind of focus on it. I can hear a
And
quiet
then
thing.
sometimes that makes it a little worse too, because like
Yes.
the sound populates in there and just gets trapped in there and just bounces back and forth between the your eardrum and the plug.
And when I when my tinnitus gets very loud, that's when I recognize I'm in a state of trance. So for TIs that are kind of like usually in state of trance, I don't remember things in details. And what happens is, for instance, like I might be switching channels with my TV, with the remote, and I might just
Uh,
be like doing something, and next thing you know, I'll put the remote down somewhere, not
mm,
realizing I put it down, and then next thing you know, I won't remember where the remote went. That is like a form of state of trance, and usually when that happens, the tinnitus is always very loud in my ear. But it's not like I
yeah,
pay attention to it.
it's really there's certain situations where I allow, I guess, the opportunity for them to, really get to me, and like you said, like put me like in a synthesized type of like discombobulated kind of maybe distracted or scattered head, or like I'm so distracted on here, like what I'm supposed to be doing in front of me, because I'm so attached unwantedly, and even like I don't even unknowingly kind of you're attached to them, and you're focused on them, so they're distracting you from your the task in front of you. um but there's a lot of other stuff on the month that goes on. It's insane. It's like whatever they can kind of like imagine, they'll try to muster it up and implement it into your thing. So it's like their little textbook or manual, if you want to call it that. It never runs out. It just they're always going to try to write new plays. It's like a football game where they're going to try to like reinforce plays.
Well,
Uh,
yeah,
you know,
I know what you're saying, and the
yeah,
reason for that
exactly.
is because of of their ability. They can read our minds, so they're always
Yeah,
one
exactly.
step ahead. That's
And
why
you
it's
know what
like
they can do to Hanuman, which is really kind of weird, really, really weird. It weirds me out every time. 'Cause, like, they'll ride the same wavelength, so they'll attach themselves to what your thought, right? So you're like kind of one with them, like Pacific Rim or whatever, and then they'll like just like dissuade you from another thing. Like today, I automatically was thinking like that song, who can tell where the time goes, or whatever. Who can, you know? And then I started hearing the song, but I realized it was them scripting me and
yes,
tapering me into that. And it's just funny, you know. With me, it's like I'm like a fucking like a mountain with
yes,
a shit stain. You know, I don't even. It's just not going to work. And then they put all these images and voices and of my family, or like extended family, extended friends and stuff like that, where it's like you're supposed to feel guilty or some type of way. So a good
yes.
thing to always know that even if you know, the anxiety or like the feeling of anxiety or embarrassment or guilt systemizes in your body somehow. Usually, you know, you'll feel something on your body, and then you'll feel the effect systemize around your heart and your chest. You guys need to know always just to ignore that and just tell them like, oh, okay, so that's supposed to something, you know, like I'm supposed to feel like less than, or that's an attack where I'm supposed to be like, ouch, or like, you know, you're getting me. It's like, no, my chest, I can feel anxiety or like some kind of like guilt or something like that, and just bypass it, you know, because that's just your body's normal reaction to it. So appreciate your body for doing it. You know, it's a form of it's just a normal causation of your body to react like that. um, but if you're forcing it and you're going against it, it's like then you're stuck fighting yourself, and then you're like it's like you're trying to fight two or three things at the same time. You know what I mean? And it's like you're not allowing it just to happen. And the other thing too is like your pineal gland. You know, a lot of people are scared of it. There's controversy, or like, you know, people aren't really knowledgeable on it. So your pineal gland, for me, I found that, and I didn't even know this, it filters in a lot of the negativity that they're spewing out at you. And it's just like absorbing it, and you can feel the energy in there. You know, it feels pretty cool. There's nothing nefarious about it. There's no mysticism to it. There's no like, you know, I'm gonna levitate a fucking mug or something. It's there. Maybe it can do that. I don't know. But so far, what I've realized, and it's amazing, it'll absorb, like, you'll feel it like activate when they're, you know, shooting something where they're trying to trigger you. It's not 100% like a firewall, but it's like 75%, 80%. You need to kind of like learn to activate it. The sun, um, you know, stare at the sun and absorb it. Right now it's winter here in America, so, you know, whenever the sun's out, just enjoy it and look at it. Just stay out there as long as you can, absorbing the
I,
sun. The sun will help you calm down also, and it'll help you sleep. The
you know
vitamin
what my
D for your body.
you know what my gang stalkers told me through voice to skull.
Mm.
Whenever I'm outside, they would tell
Yeah.
me there's there's a lot of them looking. There are a lot of them watching. And I notice when I'm outside, my gang stalkers tend to be more civilized, and they would tell me there's a lot of them around looking, watching.
Mm.
But as soon as I go back inside, they start
Uh-huh.
behaving like assholes again.
Yeah, yeah. So what they tell me is like, oh, everybody, and, or like they'll have say like a small sentence, and then they'll have you finish it. You know, that's a common tactic too. So they have a whole like study and like a whole, you know, understanding of linguistics, where your mind, because our minds are always trying to solve something or finish something. um our mind likes to hold things. It doesn't like half-ass things or anything like that. And that's
True.
why you we assume a lot of things, or we'll finish their sentences, or we'll get triggered because our mind's like, oh, this means that, instead of it being like, it doesn't mean anything, you know. So
Well,
it's a
once
lot
you're,
of training that we got to do.
yeah, it is training. You know, so far, since the last time I
Yeah.
spoke with you, you actually discover lot more new things. So that's good. And
Yeah.
like you said, finishing sentences.
Mhm.
I got to a point now where I realized I used to be like that, and I realized like I tend to not say anything at all inside my mind. Like I try to become as slow and calm as possible. Where now I'm when they talk, I can recognize
Mhm.
it's them through lower voices skull, or they
Yeah.
try to send me won't even talk
So sometimes
guide
it gets
me.
so bad, right? It's like, yeah. So say they're doing the gay agenda thing on you, which they are all the time. That's one of the things. So say that, and like a dude comes up on TV or something, right? Or a kid, and what you're supposed to do and train yourself to do is just look at it, like, you know, like there's, like, it's nothing. It's just an ad. It's just a person, whatever, and that's it. Because they'll get quiet, and they'll put you on the spotlight. And so this one's called like the spotlight, like the free throw spotlight, you know, where there's a stadium and they're all fucking waiting for you to react in a negative way. And it's like, okay, so what do you expect me to feel here, you know, or think? So it's all like trigger, think, feel, and then feel bad. So that's a little cycle that they're trying to do. But it's like, no, I'm not ever going to feel bad. Even if you slip something in there, or you are pushing a button type of thing where it's like, why do I keep seeing this person or this puppy or this thing or whatever, you know? It's weird because if you notice, they'll never put beautiful things in your mind, you know, like an ocean, a forest, or a river, or like an animal or anything like that. It's always like vile, or like a person or this or that situation to trigger you
True.
to feel bad. So they're just trying to make you feel bad, guilty, and distracted. That's what they're trying to make you do all day, all the
And you
time.
know what's fascinating when it comes to those
Mhm.
positive thoughts and positive images? I realize that it requires me to generate my own energy, use my own energy to generate those thoughts. It's like it
Yeah,
doesn't come
exactly.
easy.
So that it goes back to like finishing the thought, the sentence. You know what I mean?
Yes, and they would send me some negative thoughts, and usually when it gets so bad, I would,
Hmm.
you know, what's the go-to one I would use? I would
Hmm.
imagine I'm on a movie set, and whatever they send me that's so bad, right? I would just imagine, okay, director go cut, and that's it. It'll be like a movie set. So that has turned out to be a very good way to end that thought. So if they show me some accident or someone getting murdered really bad, the best thought I came up with just okay, a director said cut, and the movie set. So now it was
Yeah.
okay.
So we have to
See
come
what I'm
up with.
saying? Finishing that
Yeah.
negative thought.
Hmm. So you know, actually, I think therapists use little tactics like that, and phobia, you know, specialists, where they're like, okay, we're gonna try this exercise where, you know, instead of concluding to this, we're gonna conclude to that. You know what I mean? And it's just training of your mind. So like another thing you can do is like, I feel like you know, the armor of God and stuff is important too. So just like a whole full you know, armor from head to toe, you know.
Yeah,
You can, mine just populated a crown that's fixed into the armor. Um, you know, sometimes it changes color. It has a cape, it has animal fur on it, jewels on my gloves. It's crazy, dude. You know, and that'll help you too. If it does get to a slip where it's just continuous, and they're like, oh, you see, we're trapping, we're getting him. So it's like a little video game where they're like, okay, you were kind of winning, but now they're punching you and kicking you, and like you're kind of getting stuck on that um, receiving mode. Where so what I do in that case, I'm like, I'll laugh it off and be like, and you know, so what? And literally, you should laugh because your laugh and your even if you fake it. Um, so
they don't like it.
positive, happy, and emotions, they trigger chemicals and defenses and testosterone in your body. So happiness and the feeling of being alive, and like, you know, like it's like when you get into a like not a Corvette, but like a convertible, you know, and it's a nice convertible and stuff like that. That feeling that you get, that's like a testosterone filled feeling where you feel safe and you feel alive and stuff like that. So that's what happiness, even if you have to fake it, eventually you'll learn to like just really laugh at these things. A lot of times too, what I do is like I'll roast these things, or, you know, I'll clown them, and then you got to like become like a lyricist, man, and really creative on how you disrespect and you know, make them feel like shit, you know, because if you're just saying like "fuck you, bitch" all the time, or like, oh, like leave me alone, like shit like that, that's not ever gonna work. You know what I mean? You
Well,
have to hurt.
it
You
gets
have
no
to hurt their
answer.
feelings and shit. You know?
Yeah, and it makes them
Yeah.
want to retaliate too. And
Mhm.
and and but it to me, it's like that's how I got their respect to back off of me a lot, you know. And
Yeah.
it's like at some point, you know, talking shit back to them would really like give them a taste of their own medicine. And before we continue, I want to read some of these comments, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so let's see here. There's a lot of comments. So this one, can you please explain what is special about true TIs, and also isn't gang stalking ran by Freemasons? Well, for me, I believe the gang stalkers are the one that runs the Freemasons. See, because I believe the gang stalkers are in everyone's mind. They can get into anyone's mind. So the people that are actually living people that are in the Freemasons, the gang stalkers
Mhm.
are already in their head. That's what I believe. Do you have anything to say about that? 1-0.
About like the secret society stuff. I mean,
I
obviously, yeah,
believe
it
the
is.
gang stalker runs all of them.
Like I said, you know, the group that's like in charge of it, because, you know, for me, like the base people, they never change. It's like the same two girls and the same two idiot dudes, you know. Um, and I feel like they're the ones, them and whatever alphabet department of authority or governmental that's involved in it or helping them out here, um, is are they're the basis of it. And so don't, you know, like I said, don't think it's like all society or they're just all over. These people will follow you around and they'll act like, they'll pretend sometimes like they're working or they're in retail or something like that. They're just part of the crises actors, and they are allowed to act like workers and like people of society. Like they'll even have like government cars, like um, or like, you know, like your energy company, your or gas company. They'll pretend they'll be at a grocery store or something like that, but they're not really workers. They're just, like I said, crisis actors, and they have a license to pretend wherever you're at.
Well, okay. Here's what I have to say. Okay, so you know you're receiving voice to skull. Okay, we both know we're receiving voice to skull, and you know that they try to manipulate you through voice to skull. Now,
Mhm.
that's because we are aware of what's going on. Now, imagine, can they, if it's a technology they're using, couldn't they use this technology on people that aren't aware and controlling them without them knowing?
Yeah, so, you know, they'll
So
irritate
that's why.
people a lot.
So that's why it goes to my point that I believe the gang stalkers are the one that controls the people. And if they're using, let's for the Freemasons,
Hmm.
they could be receiving voice to skull, but the Freemason, whoever's a Freemason, if they're not true TI, they're not aware of what's going on, they wouldn't be aware that they're receiving voice to skull. Wouldn't that be?
But don't you? Yeah, yeah, I do agree with that. And there's, you know, multiple different things that go on with that too. There's variations of it, and it branches all out. Um, So this thing's like a giant, like squid type of web. It's just a web on top of a web on top of a web, and where
Yes.
it's just like, you know, it'll branch from one little thing to the next and like that, you know. So it's just one giant web of bullshit. But yeah, it's. Do you agree though that it's like your whatever the things that are attached to you are like the same ones, like, or do they change? Do you hear different? Like, you know, you hear Bontrika one day, and then you hear Kelly the other day, or whatever.
Well, I know you probably got yours and I got mine, but I also believe there's a lot of them and they're somehow all connected on a bigger
Yeah,
scale.
they're all connected. Yeah, they're all familiars. But do you feel like what I'm asking is just like you know, do you do you ever hear a difference in their voice or character, like
Well, okay,
the basis of yours?
I understand what you mean by like the
Hmm.
two kind
The
of
ones
base.
that never leave, you know what I mean? The ones that, yeah,
Yeah, and then there are some other voices that don't really talk much, but they
exactly.
come
Yep.
in
Hmm.
once in a while. Usually they
Yeah,
come in when there's a certain TV or usually
like a blitz or something. Yeah.
like if I'm watching a video on YouTube
Hmm.
and there's like, let's say a crowd, like a background noise with a bunch of crowd, like let's say I watch a video of someone in a bar and there's a crowd noise in the background. Usually that crowd noise in the background is when these other
Oh
V2P
yeah,
noises come in.
the crowd noise is weird. Like, or like a public space thing, right? Like on TV, like if they're walking on the side or they're outside or in a restaurant or like at a party or something like that. Like, you know, the little chit chatter that's supposed to be in the back. Like
Mhm.
they're actually like really like talking and triggering you and saying whole sentences to fuck you up and shit like that.
You know
Um,
the way that how efficient it is almost feel like
mm,
it is like a form of an AI system. It's so efficient, but it's also
yeah, exactly,
instantaneous. The point that it's instantaneous makes me believe it's so advanced. I
exactly. Yep. Hmm.
and and okay, some might say, okay, it's the government's been doing this for 80 years, whatever. They've been
But this
advancing
has
this
been going on since ancient times.
exactly, and that's why it
Yeah.
doesn't correlate
Hmm.
with if the government's been doing it for 80
But it
years. How
it,
does
it
that?
but it kind of is though. It kind of is because governments since the beginning of time have been relating and you know, trying to communicate and trying to connect with these entities, because instead of running to, you know, Yahweh, which is what I believe in, and he's the ultimate and real power, you know, because the thing is, Hanuman, you know, I've never seen a demon, you know. The Bible does talk about him, but I think these things are more, I don't know. I kind of doubt that passage, man, a little bit. As hard as it is for me to admit that, or I don't doubt it. I just don't really understand it, and I think there's more to it. The thing is, for me, okay, if you're a witch or a warlock, create some money for yourself, become a billionaire or whatever, right? Make a good living for yourself. I've never seen anybody flying out here doing opening up a portal or making me fucking fall or anything. I'm not saying those things don't happen to other people, according to them, but I've never seen anything so phenomenal like that. What I have seen is them using the grid, the laser grid that's out here, the microwave weapons and all that shit to kind of like mutate things in my room and whatever. Yeah, so it's weird because I would start imagining some like a face or like a figure or like a being, and they would like make it into that, you know. It's kind of weird. And then they shut a door one time. It was really slow. They were just kind of like pushing it very very slowly, and they shut it. So they want you to think that it's like the entities that are pushing that door, but it's more like the microwave weapons that are like slowly with the ionized air in your room or whatever, because they may um, be pumping some shit in our vents too, you know, through our air conditioning. It's
Well,
very
okay,
possible.
it's very. I want to go off topic a little bit. That you
Mm,
mentioned something. Now I
yeah.
want to ask you, when you receive voice to skull from these different entities, right? Different voices. When they send you the voice to skull, do they also at the same time send you an image of a face to try to make you correlate the voice to an actual face of what possibly they look like. Have they done that to you? I'm sure they have, right?
Like as far as them,
Yeah, like they'll
yeah.
send
But
you a
when they
voice to
do,
skull, but they also
Mhm.
send you a face image to make you kind of like correlate the voice to that face image they sent you.
when they do that, it's just like they're trying to make me feel bad or guilty or anxious and distracted, or all of the above, And it's like, but yeah, they do that, but
So for
they never want to show themselves though, or like give you a kind of image or like or a portrayal of what they look like, or what they may kind of look like.
yeah, and see for me, I have a voice to skull. I have a voice that whenever it talks to try to send me an image, it's always like a skeletal like shape of a
Mm.
figure, like a lady that's already in a skeleton form. And usually when this voice did something like overboard, and I would talk trash to it, got me a little upset. It would try
Mhm.
to send me like a smiley face, but then there'll be a skeleton face.
That's weird.
And from my belief, what I understand is this entity it's been dead for a long time. So long back in the days, there was no cameras or nothing, no photos, right? So just been dead for a long time. That's what they try to make me think about. Okay, let's continue. I'm gonna stay here. I love Gohan. I need chill. Okay.
Hey,
Yeah.
Hanuman.
Home Slice. I would like to have you on in the future because Home Slice. Okay, Home Slice actually knows a lot about V2K10. He knows
Mhm.
a lot. He knows just as much as you and I. He knows a lot about V2K, and I would like to have him on.
Cool. So what I was gonna say, it's like what are your like your parents' like backgrounds, or like your grandparents or your forefathers.
Um. Well, I'm just Han Chinese, but I don't know much about my ancestors. I should take one of those DNA tests, huh?
You should, but what I'm trying to get at is that Asian people have always been a little more spiritual and a little more connected with self. So maybe that's why this thing's trying to connect with you, or maybe add a quarrel or some kind of you know difference um, with your bloodline or something. I don't know, or maybe it's something like that. Because
Well,
I've never experienced anything like that.
I can tell you one thing though. I am RH negative blood type. That
I don't
and
know what blood I am actually.
okay, it's good for you to find out. But
It is, yeah.
I am RH negative blood type, and in Ancient Alien they talk about this blood type just came out of nowhere about 20, 30,000 years ago. That's what they can date back, I guess. Um,
Got it. Okay.
and they don't
So
know
so
where it came from. That's what.
so seventh. As far as let's see. I almost forgot what I was gonna say here. Um. Oh yeah. So when the tinnitus, right? Because they're like what they're doing is like they have these places where they're like creating either like a really low low pitch that it sounds really high in your ear because it's irritating it, right? So the ringing is just like the irritation that your body's creating. It's actually your your freaking brain ringing and stuff, like the sound of your brain. Um, or they can just go really high or something. I don't know, but I've heard that it's really low, like a really good a low frequency or hertz or whatever, and then that'll create the ringing. So my question is, like, what do you do when it just gets like really irritating, like where you feel like it's like kind of boiling your eardrum there? And a
Uh,
lot of times I'll hear them like kind of rubbing something, like something electric. They have these little noise type of electric type of sandpaper type of things, or like I don't know, kind of like you know how like when babies are getting their teeth and they gotta bite into like um certain things. It's kind of like that. I'm not saying they're using
Receiver?
that, but
Yeah.
like they're like yeah. So they're like it's kind of like a shaker type of thing where it triggers your tongue too. It'll inflame your tongue, and you start rubbing it around. You start rubbing it against your teeth, and then it starts irritating your tongue, and that creates a lot of stress in your thyroid and etc. So, but yeah, what do you do in that situation?
Well, usually when my tinnitus gets really loud, what I do is I just plug both my ears, right? Using my
Mm,
index finger, I plug both, and
mm,
then keeping it pressed, plugged, okay? And
mm,
I just hum. I just go,
mm,
you know. And if you do this right now, just plug in your ears and you can
mm,
feel like a super vibration inside your mind.
mm. Yeah,
Like
that's
you
crazy.
have to plug both ears, like plug it hard with your index finger, and then just hum, and you can feel this vibration. And if I do that for 5 minutes, I feel better every time.
Yeah.
Every time. And
Okay.
when I'm
That's
humming,
awesome.
sometimes I can still hear the tinnitus try to battle me. Like it try to make
But it loses
a
is
louder
yeah.
sound in my hum, my internal hum, because that hum is very loud in my head once I plug my
Yeah.
ears.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
will try to up its volume. The tinnitus try to make it louder than me. But if I do that for 5 minutes, it always helps me. It clears my mind, makes me feel better, and actually, I believe it kind of lowers the tinnitus too.
Mm. Do you feel like you have become like you can kind of do certain things and like in your city that that other people can't do?
As in, can you put in
As
one
in like kind of like
make prediction or
no, like you can use your intuition to like maybe run the red light, for instance, right? I'm not condoning or saying you should, but like you'll feel like you can, and then nothing happens, or like other things like would you just manifest where it's like you won't have a negative consequence to that situation, you know, where it's like you're kind of like um, a little privileged, I guess, or you can
uh,
kind of like beat your chest or like you know talk shit to people and nothing will happen. I know you're kind of against that, you know, but
well, okay, based on where I live, I talk shit when I do talk shit. I talk shit to my gang stalkers,
mm,
and I know nothing's gonna happen because I have my neighbors are too far away.
mm,
But I don't recommend that to anyone because here's the thing: I realize that even though my neighbors are far away, these gang stalkers are constantly making my neighbors think I am the one stalking them. One
yeah,
time, one time
that's
I came
crazy.
home. One
Mm,
time I came home from work. Right, I came home from work. I parked the truck, and after I parked the truck, I looked over to my one of my neighbors' home, and I saw my neighbor, outside in his backyard. He's got horses and stuff, and he was topless. He was
mm,
leaning up against his water reservoir. One of those like above ground type of like water tank. Like
yeah,
reserve water. And he was leaning up on it, and he's got his rifle pointed towards my direction. He's actually standing there without a shirt, leaning
so
on the
he's
water tank, pointing the rifle at my direction, like looking through a scope. And
yeah,
I can
you
see him, right? Because I parked the truck. I was sitting in the truck.
mm,
I looked in that direction. I could see him pointing his rifle at me, probably
mm,
looking at what I'm doing. And I was just sitting. I was like, "What the heck? Should I start filming this right now?" You know? And literally, as I'm thinking, maybe I should bust out my phone and start filming him pointing the rifle at me.
yeah,
It's like he's got an awakening. Like it's almost like he realized what he's doing, and he put his rifle down, and he turned around and started walking back in.
yeah. So I think what was going on in that situation is like they do that a lot where it's like the you know it's like that's why a lot of TIs are like, oh, we're so far and in between, right? And it's hard to like actually connect with somebody that is going through the same thing or whatever. So what happens is they they're pretty much causing chaos and confusion out here where it's just like everybody against everybody type of thing, you know what I mean? And then yeah, sometimes you'll start seeming like you're the stalker and like making noise out there and like beating your chest and like um being too cocky or like stuff like that, where other people are like kind of like more reserved and scared and not knowing what's going on, where they'll think like you're kind of like the bad guy, and it's like you're not. You're just kind of like fighting your own battle in that way.
And let me tell you the story of this,
Mhm.
okay? So for a while, at night I would hear that same neighbor, their horses would make a scream, like a horse to make a scream, like it's in pain or something. Um, and I initially I didn't think much of it. Maybe they're doing something with their horse,
I've never heard anything sound like that, or like
but
you mean like a neigh or something, like
well,
a loud pitch.
it's actually from the horse, okay? Like imagine you slap a horse out of nowhere and the horse make a sound, or whatever, like you know what I'm saying? Like and then eventually
Mhm.
I was receiving voices called. They were telling me, be careful going outside because those neighbors over there don't like me. They actually think that I am the one throwing objects or attacking their horse at night.
You felt like you heard
Like,
that?
no, the V2K was telling me that
Mm-hmm.
those neighbors over there, the one with the rifle pointed at me that one time,
Uh-huh.
those people believe at night I somehow go over there and attack their horses.
Why?
No, I'm not doing that. But you see, the gang stalkers are messing with them, making them think that I am the one
Yeah.
stalking them and messing with them, even though I'm not doing anything. You see how it can use other people
Yeah,
to
exactly.
go against each other?
Yep.
That's
Especially, yeah. I have neighbors like that, dude, where I've like immediately have felt like a disdain for them, or like like a I don't know, like a bad feeling. But then I'll tell myself like that doesn't make sense right off the bat. Let me give this person a chance, and then I'll actually have a conversation with them, start getting along with them, and it's like, okay, so this person's actually kind of a decent, cool person. You know what I mean?
yeah. So you took the
But
initiative.
yeah, they'll do that a lot.
You took the initiative to actually
Yep.
bond the relationship, made it better. But
Yep.
if you didn't do anything, then it would have been that probably gets worse, right? It would have stayed that way of like,
Yeah. So it's our responsibility to actually find out, because other people may or may not know what's going on. A lot of times I'll feel like people do know what's going on, and then it's just like total, like I'll go to the like another side of town, and it's just like people are oblivious, or like they're just like minding their own business and doing their own thing. It's really, really odd. Like I said, this thing, there's like probably hundreds of things going on at once, like 100 different projects going on against you or more, um, at one time, like all at the same time.
well, I'll tell
So
you right
it's
now.
it's really a miracle that we're breathing every second here, and we're waking up and like trying to function in society, dude. It's like we're walking fucking miracles, basically.
Well, here's how I believe. I believe that us, the True TI receiving voices call, like really are somewhat important to them, to these gang stalkers, because we can actually receive their dialogue better than the majority of people out there.
Mm-hmm.
And and back to my story about how,
We're more empathetic.
well, for whatever reason,
You
we are definitely in connection with these things.
know?
And back to my story about how when after I parked my truck, I saw my neighbors pointing his rifle towards my direction. So
Yeah.
what I believe was my neighbor was already outside. He was probably
Right.
outside, was probably tripping out, hearing voices call from the direction of my property, right? So
Yeah.
that's why he's probably out there with his rifle, probably peeping through the scope, looking around. But then out of nowhere, I showed up. I returned home, and that's probably when he realized that the entire time he's probably thought I was over there
You weren't even
messing
there.
with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't even there. Because when I
Yeah.
looked over
It's
there, I
insane.
saw his body, like his body posture is like he got an awakening that he realized what he was doing, and he put his rifle
Mhm.
down and he just walked back inside.
That's crazy, dude. I mean, this
Yeah,
guy was maybe 50-50, maybe gonna kill you, over
You know
nothing.
what? Yeah, thank God that didn't happen. But
Yeah.
knowing after seeing what I saw, I know that person was most likely being messed with by the gang stalkers.
Hmm.
So
And
it was,
maybe at a lower, like a more mild type of level. You know what I mean?
well,
Just
see,
enough to trip him out a little bit.
exactly. Well, I
Hmm.
believe that people, okay, are receiving. Everyone's receiving lower voice to skull, and
Yeah.
we're receiving voices call. That's how we identify that. Oh wow, these aren't our voices, and that's how we kind of went on this journey, right? But for
Mhm.
the ones that are receiving lower voice to skull but not voice to skull, they're just practically their thoughts are being guided by these gang stalkers, and they don't even realize it. They actually believe it's their own thoughts.
Their thoughts, what?
I mean, people actually receiving lower voice to skull, they don't realize it and they believe it's their own thoughts. Like believing, oh, my those neighbors over there are attacking my horses, or believing that
Mm.
those neighbors over there, it's hiding somewhere, probably trying to do something to my horses. You know what I mean? Like from their perspective,
Yeah.
that's because they're receiving lower voice to skull to have those thoughts, those ideas. When in reality, they're all assumptions. Just like most TIs are, they're assuming that the one headlight, the red color, are gang stalkers, but they're just being messed with by the lower voice to skull. Does that make any sense?
Absolutely. Yep. And then it's like these things are that's what makes me think like there's no way. I don't think humans are involved with this because they're not like um, the ones calling the shots, at least because I mean, who takes the time and energy to do this shit all day long? Like, like I know the flying monkeys, they're kind of like bitches to this thing, and they got to do their job. And if their little master tells them you can't leave your apartment or your house and you got to stay there all fucking day and night until I say so, then then that's what they do. That's what I notice. Um, but I don't know, man. It's like demon, human, and technology all mixed together.
Oh yeah.
You
I,
know,
I
but
yep.
isn't it weird though that like we don't see a demon? Like they don't come out here and be like, "Oh, I am," Tazar or whoever, like and obey me because I'm more powerful than you. I'm gonna show you some magic and superpowers and shit like that.
Well, to me,
That
that just means we are more powerful than them. That means they're vulnerable if they actually show themselves to us.
exactly. That's what I think it is. It's like they're so ugly and horrendous and evil and vile that they can't stand themselves. See, the thing is, like, time itself is an illusion. They say, right? So there is no time. It's everything's like a canvas. It's already happened if you really think about it. So these things are already in hell, dude. They're already like eternally damned. They're already in there right now. They know that because they tell me sometimes. I'll be like, okay, just enjoy hell and burning in there. And they're like, okay, we will. And or I'll ask them like, you're going to hell, right? Like you're gonna burn. And they're like, yeah, we know. You know. So they're cool with it. Like they're okay with it.
Well, see that part, I can't confirm anything, but I
Mhm.
can't deny, you know, existence of that. So
Yeah.
for me, it's just inconclusive for me right now, and I'm not denying
Yeah, it is
anything of that.
inconclusive. Yeah, you're
There's
right.
really not much I can think into it. I want to think into it. I would like to know the answer, but I can't. There's really nothing I can think into because it's just speculation. But I
Mhm.
do know that these things do exist, and based on my research, I do believe in the afterlife and the afterlife. Like I said, these are the spirits, right? Just bully. Imagine the worst person you know in life, the worst person you know in life, the meanest person you know in life, and this person passed away and goes into the afterlife, and it's this spirit now in the afterlife. Can you imagine dealing with an entity like that, a person like that, a personality?
Horrible.
It's gonna be like a gang stalker, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And can you imagine if this entity just gonna be 200-300 years stuck around here on Earth? It's probably gonna become a worse entity, right?
Yeah, more aware and more if it has a like uh, a network of other entities, they're just going to learn from each other, build from that, and just keep studying humans and like know what the easiest way to kill somebody by psychosis.
And you know what's crazy though? I believe that they also lose the sense of caring. So they become one that don't care about human lives anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care
They
if the person
they don't
hurts
care about
himself or
themselves
dies.
either.
Yep. Because they already experienced it all. That's what they always tell me. They've seen it all. They've seen the worst. They've seen people done the worst things or the good things, but then
Mm-hmm.
it's like they have no more feelings for human existence. Like they're just there. We're just here for entertainment for them. They want to mess with us, make us, and if they can put us in fear, because we can hear them, they put us in fear. They can technically, in a way, manipulate or control us to do things that it wants us to do. Like the most simplest form would be change the channel. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's the most simplest form to someone that's really scared could really manipulate a person to go like kidnap a person. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it really is case by case, but it
Or blurt out
unfortunately here.
something, like blurt something out that you kind of want to say or something.
Yes. If
Mm-hmm.
they really don't like the person, they can really make the person get in trouble, get in trouble with the law, or confront the wrong person and get hurt by that person that they
Mm-hmm.
confronted. You know, it's like a lot can happen, and that's why it's always good to play cool, play calm, and try to act normal and civilized out in public because these things can really mess with you at any moment. And and
Yeah.
I was gonna say something. I was gonna say something about something that you mentioned earlier, but I can't remember. I just forgot. Did you watch the beginning of this live stream? How I showed this part of this
No,
documentary?
no,
Oh, you didn't. Okay, well you should
I
watch
ran
it
into it.
then.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you heard of the trumpet sound in the sky? It's been going on
Mm-hmm.
for about 10 years now.
Yep. It has been going on for like at least 10 years, where people started, um, talking about it on YouTube and stuff.
And have you've seen videos, right, where people record the
Mm-hmm. It's very
trumpet sound
loud.
in the sky? Yeah. In the
Yep.
scientific
And very
community, they have
eerie.
no idea what it is.
Nobody knows where it comes from. Scientists don't know, and it's weird because it doesn't break the news like majorly or anything like that. These are big phenomenons.
Yeah. And you know what? This phenomenon, let's just say it's not aliens, okay? But this phenomenon's been can date back to the Bible. The Bible mentioned trumpet in the sky.
Mm.
And that's the day of like judgment, supposedly. Like it's gonna start.
Yeah, but it never happened in ancient times until now.
The trumpet sound?
Mm-hmm.
So it talked about it's gonna happen. That's when you know it's gonna happen, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So are we at that time right now? Would you say possibly?
You know what? I've seen many of these videos, and it sounds kind of the same, and the trumpet doesn't sound like you know like pleasant. It's very
No.
disturbing, like
You know what it
eerie.
is?
Mm-hmm.
When I actually use a fan, right? I would use a leaf blower, and sometimes I would, because I know these entities are on my body, and I would use it on my body. I could feel the coldness on my body. And in a hot summer day, that's when I know these entities are on me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I would press the fan, the air blower on part of my body, and it would make a trumpet sound, like it's almost like, and then they'll V2K telling me they'll be laughing and stuff and telling me, "Don't move." I'm actually I caught one of the entities and it's crying. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like that trumpet sounds like the entity crying. So in the sky, it's almost like reminds me. Is it possible that if it comes from that entity, it's actually crying in the sky? So people, other entities.
Maybe. Have you heard of the angels that are supposedly trapped in the Euphrates River? I mean, they are, according to the Bible.
Oh, I believe a lot of these entities are trapped in places. And I mean, I
So those angels make like a kind of trumpet type of noise.
well, they have I have received V2K. They have told me that they are um celestial beings, like entities in the sky
Mm.
from heaven. They have told me this
Mhm.
before. Now, could this be them just messing with me? I mean, it's
I mean,
possible,
the
but
other thing, do you practice like chi or like tai chi or meditation, yoga, or whatever?
you know what? I never did, but only until with my experience that they actually
Hmm.
have led me into understanding chi and the chi flow. And
Hmm.
and when they sometimes they're grabbing onto one of my leg,
Hmm.
okay, putting a lot of either restricting blood to that leg, because if they restrict
Uh-huh.
blood to one part of my body, that's gonna
Hmm.
mess with my blood pressure.
Hmm.
And if they released it, I would feel a surge of pressure. All of a sudden, hits my heart for some reason. Okay,
Yeah.
and then what I would do is I would have to flex my arm, my hand as well, to
Hmm.
distribute that blood to my other part of my body. It's like it's like controlling the movement of my blood flow in
The
a way.
flow. Yeah. Hmm.
And sometimes I would feel like my forehead, they're hitting my forehead. So I would have
Hmm.
to like gently put some flex my forehead a little bit, put some energy there.
Hmm.
It kind of like I feel like it feels better. It's like circulating more blood to my head or to the back of my neck, pushing blood through the back of my neck. You know what I'm
So
saying?
yeah, so it's important to relax your head, and a lot of people don't realize that their head is so damn tense. What the what these things do with the energy weapons also, they're making your brain you know uh, inflate and deflate, and then over and over and over. What this causes is like extreme heat in your head, um, and so your blood flow becomes constricted. And but when you intentionally relax your head, like kind of like see it being relaxed and kind of um, guiding your blood flow down towards your face, towards your neck, like you said, down towards your like um, your spinal cord. Um, that'll help you relax, and eventually that'll help you along with like stretching and being more aware of like being loose and nimble. You won't get those like tense muscles. I used to get them too until recently. I don't get any of that shit anymore. And plus, working out helps a lot too.
Oh yes, working out helps a
A
lot.
lot. It makes
And
it feel so good, dude. Yep.
you know what's interesting is when I do cardio, I would feel like I'm so exhausted. Like I'm like have shortness of breath. But that's only the beginning phase. Once I break out of that initial cardio phase,
Mhm.
like for instance, the next day or the day after, or even running cardio for let's say that first 20 minutes is so difficult after that 20 minutes, it's almost like I feel like
Mhm.
I break out of the shell. Like I break out of whatever I was under, and now I can actually breathe again.
Yeah. So I don't. Yeah. Same with me. Same exact thing with me. So I don't know if they're doing something with our bladder, and then that just tells me that they're always constricting at least some blood flow, and especially white blood cells to your brain, so it can function better, and your heart's not pumping it fast enough, so constricting your blood flow too. Like I said, there's like hundreds of things going on, like where they're attacking, like not helping us in a sense.
Yeah.
They're attacking us. I know a lot of us, I wouldn't say a lot of us, but some of us evolve and adapt and whatever, right? Like we just keep going. Other people, unfortunately, they become ill and handicapped, like, so it's kind of sad. I don't know, but it's important to realize these things and like know your body and order them for the good, because there's so much bad against you, um, all the damn time. It's crazy.
You know,
All you can do, really, it's so crazy and evil that all you can do is really just laugh at it. Like, it's insane. So
Well, I see what you mean. Like, I don't know if you heard one of my me mention one of my video that they anchor into your stomach, right? Like
Mhm.
I there are times when I actually exhale, I can feel coldness on my lips. It's like extra cold. It's like a cold breeze. And
So you know what I think they're doing with that, Hanuman? I think they have those like in a computer game or like a metaverse, um, and they're actually putting these codes into our real atmosphere with their technologies and the antennas and all and the grid, and they're guiding these cold little bubbles or clouds to our. They do it to my legs a lot because it's right, or if I'm in the car, they just do it to my hands because my feet are covered with socks, shoes, but my extremities are always trying to like mess with those just to make me uncomfortable, and they'll like purposely make it so I know that they're bringing that cold towards me. It's like an extreme cold, that's directed towards us. But that's done with microwaves.
well, I through V2K they told me that they are actually right in front of my face. And the coldness, like you said, there's definitely something there. And
Mm-hmm.
I had the experience of sleep paralysis one time where an entity was literally pressed his lips onto mine and sucking air out of my stomach. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
sucking warm air out of my stomach. It's like an essence, I feel like. So that's what kind of made me believe that. And they told me that they're in front of my face. Makes me
Mm-hmm.
believe that has something to do with my breath. Have some type of either energy for them or something
Mm-hmm.
that they could
I think that's
use in
just
me,
a personal preference that they're doing. Um,
possibly based on our backgrounds,
yeah.
or culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because in my
Because
culture, they do
like
talk about how vampires sucks your essence and the
mm-hmm.
breath is like an energy for them. So that could be based on my culture, but there's definitely something there in front of me. I can feel the cold
Right.
breeze, and
Yeah.
I also believe that imagine a cold breeze can also go into your lungs, right? Because it's around you,
Yeah.
it can technically go
Yeah.
into your lungs when you inhale. And I believe once it gets into our lungs, it can actually somehow stay in there and cause us to be bloated. Like, you ever seen people or people that age and then they're not fat, but then their stomach is like extra big, it's like bloated. It's like too much gas stuck or too much something stuck in there, right? But they're not fat. You see what I'm saying? But it's like a
Yeah, they're like
bloatedness.
squishy. Yeah.
And I believe that's what it's possibly could be. Can I prove it? No, I can't prove it. It's a theory. I'm
Yeah.
not even going to go to touch that.
But you see
But
that
it's just
goes to what I was saying. Like that's your intuition, dude. That's like your codes that you're getting from your, that you're not assuming this because who just makes up this stuff? Like you're receiving
it's like based
codes
on
and like
experience in a way.
it's
Yeah.
like your sixth sense.
And
But
here's
I don't
the
know.
thing,
Like,
like I know my body. Like I was used to be like did have a kind of like somewhat of like a little tummy, a bloated tummy, and out of nowhere, ever since I moved to this place, I started to notice it kind of gradually got diet, same. I don't see any changes to my diet all these years. So it's like
I think you're moving and you're cutting out a little bit.
it's like my diet haven't changed. My diet's been pretty much consistently the same all these years. So before I moved to this property, like I didn't have this like somewhat of a bloated tummy, But ever since I moved to this property, I notice I have this little bloated tummy, and it's just like air because I would kind of suck my stomach in, like flexing it, like flexing my stomach, suck it in, and then I would force myself to burp, and I would do this for like 30 minutes, kind of just sitting there, making myself burp. And I do notice my stomach kind of goes down. It's like there was something stuck in there. I kept burping it out. But only when I started living here, that's when this starts to happen.
Well, the thing is also, Hanuman, you got to understand what, they put our bodies in, whether we realize or not, through so much stress that it's just not going to stay tight throughout the day. Like me, when I wake up, like my body looks fucking nice, dude. My belly's flat, my chest looks nice and everything. At nighttime, not so much. It's like total opposite. Like I'm not saying
Yeah.
I look fat or anything, but it's just like, and like I said, I've been working out and everything, but it's like our body's just like exhausted or something, you know, and it's not the last thing it wants to do is just like just keep it all tight together there, you know.
Yes, and I do believe all TI should work out. Definitely need to work
Yeah.
out.
What did you think about the thing I told you about, them implementing some kind of video game or like platform on a computer where they can, you know, send things to us in real time, since everything's like a fucking computer out here, anyways, you know, with all the metals and the radiation and everything.
I mean, it's a possibility. I can't
Mhm.
deny it. I can't prove it. I can't deny it. But one thing I do know based on my research, your gang stalkers are right next to you.
Mm.
And I know it's hard to imagine that, but when I show you that, when the time comes, okay, this coming April, I show you, you're gonna
Mhm.
be like, oh wow, so that does make sense. You're gonna be like, oh wow, and
Oh wow.
yeah, I'm gonna show you. You're gonna get it. You're gonna be one of those person that's gonna get it.
Okay. Um, Another thing I was gonna ask you: do you ever get like dry spots or like graphing dryness type of thing in your like your ears or like your T zone or anywhere in your body? Like I'll get them like by my sideburns, inside of my ears, um, T zone. You know, like my brow and stuff like that. And it's like I use, you know, a little bit of face lotion and stuff like that. But it's like I said, they're frying us all day, you know, because they got this. So do you believe that it's weapons that are doing this too, like, or like kind of like not a weapon but like attacks also?
I believe we're like a bioenergy for them, and they're sucking our energy.
Mm. Mm.
They're actually absorbing our energy.
So then
And
why do they attack us then if they need us? Because they can just jump to another person.
well, see, from what I can learn, they can get energy from the TV. They can get energy from the
Uh-huh.
car, from all these electronics.
From water, running water.
But here's the thing though. Water, I realize they kind of tend to not like water that much.
Yeah.
But here's the thing though. When it comes to us, they can take our energy, they get it from our cell phone, but they get it from us, they attach to us, it's because it's a better experience than to hang around with TV. Right?
Oh,
Imagine like a power generator. Yeah, they can get energy from it, but that's boring. You know what I'm saying?
right.
So, but if they attach a human, they can kind of like experience a human life again. But the TIs that get V2K, they not recognize V2K. That is like hitting a jackpot for them because we could actually have a communication of.
Isn't it so pathetic though? Like these things are like they're so mad and evil. They're just like they're like, okay, well, I'm gonna make your life miserable because I'm damned or something. I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you, there's more evil. Can you think about from all the stories you read in your life, the most evilest of evil? There are entities out there way worse than what we got. Because
Yeah.
I can say this because if we got those entities, those TIs would have probably already in jail or probably committed suicide already. There are entities out there that will bombard a person's mind with nothing but perverted images and thoughts. And that's how those are the people that are somewhat kind of would kidnap people and torture them and kill them and eat their skin and like it's really out of this world type of entities out there.
Well, I mean, they've hit me with stuff like that, you know, with like I'm telling you, they're trying everything and anything against me.
And it's testing your
Another,
soul as well.
yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. What do you think about the fact that, you know, we're still out here alive, working and going to the grocery store? The police doesn't necessarily mess with us or anybody else and this like that and things like that.
Well, like I said, the true TIs, I really believe they hit the jackpot because we're more in tune in connecting with them. But at the same time, they're limited. they need us to be in fear, right? They want to manipulate our lives, so
Right.
it seems like they're in charge, so they can actually do the things that they want to do, right? And one thing they don't want to do is like, let's say like schoolwork, right, or doing like assignments, right? That's boring to them, and they would try to make
And
us
plus, they don't want
procrastinate.
you to get that like reward type of feeling where like
And that's
I
where
accomplished.
procrastination comes in, because they
Yeah,
don't want to do those things, because it's not their responsibility. They have no responsibility. They just want to have fun
exactly.
all the time. So when we're doing work, because we have responsibility, that to them it's boring, and they want to make us
Yeah.
procrastinate. And that's where procrastination comes in.
Oh yeah. And yep. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It
Because
sucks, dude. But what do you think? We're okay. And another thing, like, what do you think about like scripting things? Like, I've kind of noticed like they'll script like the next like week or so, or even maybe like a month sometimes, like where they'll play out like one scenario with somebody that has nothing to do with this other person, and it kind of all correlates and gets you like in a funk in the end, if you know what I mean. Like,
no, can you go into more detail? I'm kind of not getting that.
where it's like let's see. So the entities are the main ones, right? The hosts, they're trying to stress you out, and they're trying to like just make your head spin with so many things going on, you know. So say for instance, like something happens with your car, like you got a flat tire, and then you're late for like an important meeting, and then that results in something else, but it's like the people kind of like knew about it in a way. So I don't know. It's kind of weird. Do you feel like there is people in the community that know about your stock? You know, this is that what's going on, and they partake in it and try to
No,
attack you. Also.
I
No,
believe that's just all lower voice skull messing with you. Like,
no.
here's the
You
thing.
see, like the humans around me, like especially like where I live and where I work. Like, oh, I was gonna tell you too. So the dentistry where I work at, you know, like the next door office. You told me like, no, that's probably not. And then I felt bad one day because I went in there extra early and they weren't in there. Like there was no employees on their side. And I could hear, you know, the energies and stuff like that coming from there. Then we're like trapped in there. So I was like, oh man, I feel bad because I've been, you know, kind of like going at him, like, but the people. And no, dude, when they went in there and they started working, like it's like I kind of sensed like these entities went into the people, and then now they were like kind of like an Agent Smith type of thing situation. Because I thought like, oh, okay, my bad, like it's just gonna be like that, but it augmented so much when the you know employees got there and like the dentist or whatever. So
So,
I do think it's people, bro. Like, cause the flying monkeys around my apartment, stuff like that, they react to it, all of this, and they'll even laugh, and they're just like over it. They're just like, okay, we're just gonna put like a, you know, a paper veil between us, but we basically are gonna tell you, you know, 99% of you know, without really telling you that we know what's going on.
well, here's the thing. Like for me, okay, I recognize that. For instance, like you would hear the V2K coming from the dental office, right? For example,
Mhm.
like, and you would hear people laughing, right? Like at your apartment. Um,
Uh-huh.
when that happens, it's
Or
like
reactions or like this or that.
happening in the environment, right? Happening in the outside environment, and
Yeah, but it's more like I feel it directed, dude. It's like
but
directed,
here's the thing, though, it is directed, but you can tell the difference is it's like on the other side of the wall or somewhere down the hall. But
Mhm.
that's usually when it comes to effective is right away. It's the lower voice the skull comes in and trigger your thought to, like, for instance, someone's laughing, the lower voice of skull will come in and trigger your thought to make you think that people were actually laughing, like real people are laughing. You see what I'm saying? Like the 1-2 combo. That's what I recognize they would like to do. And for instance, like you say, okay, you went to work early and there's no one next door, but you can
Mhm.
hear them on inside the wall. You said
No, just in there in that office.
in that office, but were you actually And no one was there, or do you actually believe that?
No, nobody was there. Yeah, there was nobody. There was like one, very few cars, if any, in the parking lot, and then big parking lot, and then none, next to their office where they
But
usually
then
are.
you actually you can hear that they're talking about you. They're directing at
Yeah, I mean, like they're
talking
directing
about.
their whatever
Okay.
they're doing towards
Yeah.
me.
So to me, I firmly believe that is your gang stalkers talking,
Mhm.
and then right away once you hear it, it's your lower voice to skull. They're using lower voice to skull to direct your thought into believing that someone's over there on the other side, or
Yeah,
maybe TV's in the wall. So you have to
yeah, it's
understand the
crazy.
lower voice to skull comes in right away. Usually it comes in, it always guides your thought process to whatever that you want to think, usually is people are over there because you're still believing people are there.
But like I said, it's like especially where I live at, it's just like so blatant. It's like sometimes right outside my window. My neighbor, um, they'll just react to certain things. Sometimes they'll do like little tapping noises, or like all of a sudden you think something, or they're triggering you, or they're trying to attack you, or you get up or something like that, and you haven't heard anything. Then all of a sudden, Quasimodo upstairs wants to go to the bathroom too, like every single time or something.
Oh, that is scripted. I know what you mean. Okay, now that's what
You know
you're
what I
talking
mean?
about. They already coordinated it because gang stalkers. So these gang stalkers are in everyone's mind in your building. Okay, all
Mm,
your neighbors is in all
mm,
their minds, but
mm,
they're just out regular people that don't even realize that they're receiving lower voice to skull. So it's very possible your upstairs neighbors receive the lower voice to skull to remind them to
mm.
go to the bathroom.
Like they got a sensation, maybe that, like, oh, go pee or something like that,
Yeah,
like
and then at the
repeatedly
same
or
time,
something.
they're already trying. No, they want to mess with you. Now they're telling you to get up to move to this spot, and then they also tell you direct your attention to the sound from upstairs that your neighbors
Mm.
are actually right above you moving. You see what I'm
So
saying?
it's all a well coordinated deception where you feel like, yeah, these things are. I mean, the people are like connected to your brain, or are getting broadcasted your thoughts and
Now, let me tell you,
Mhm.
inside your building, you're probably their number one target. Okay,
Mhm, mhm.
because there might be another TI
So
in your
everything's
building
working
that receive
against you.
voice to
So
skull.
everybody's working against you, right? Basically, because of them, they're getting manipulated into doing so.
Well, see, here's the thing. I believe everyone in your building is easy to manipulate except for you, because you can
Mm.
actually pick up voice to skull. You actually recognize a lot of these different things. So for them, it's like you're more of a target to want to show that they can control you or manipulate you, right? To put you in fear.
Mm.
So you're probably the most entertaining target for them in your entire building. And for your upstairs neighbor, they can just remind the neighbor to, oh, gotta go pee, get up, go to the bathroom. Because
Mm.
if a person just sitting there watching TV, why all of a sudden a thought comes into your mind to get up, right? Like for you, for instance,
Yeah.
okay, you need to pee, right? It's like your bladder is full, you gotta go pee. Okay, but why didn't the person pee earlier before it was full? Why was it holding on to it until it's so full that your body tells you gotta go pee now, right?
Every single time. Yeah.
It's almost like something is taking away
Triggering
the
it.
focus of the
Yeah.
person, and make a person just forgot about peeing. And right when the time comes, we trigger the person to get up and go pee. It reminds the person, oh, your actual bladder is full, go pee. So
Mm.
it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like it takes away the person's focus, and it can direct focus back into the person.
It's insane, man. And it's really like it's very very interesting and ingenious how they do all this. I gotta give them some credit. But it'd be nice if they used it for some good. Like, hey, like, let's download some like a new language. Like Italian or something. I don't know. Like, or sometimes when you ask them, like, oh, what was that one thing? Because they know your memories and stuff like that. They never help, or you'll be like, like a math equation or whatever, right? That's gonna like better you as a person. They're never uh, available or willing to do that.
Exactly. Well, that's why they're gang stalkers. That's why we see them as gang stalkers. Because if they're not gang stalkers, they would just help us without us even knowing they're there to help us.
So what do you think? So what do you think these things are then? You said they're just dead end people or demons or something like that.
Well, see, demons is okay. When I talk about the word demon, usually people think of some ugly looking monster, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And to me,
This is more
that
like a character, like
I
a
don't want to use the
personality,
word.
right?
Yeah, I would say it's more like a personality type.
Yeah.
It's like a bully, really mean person that's been dead for a couple hundred years, so become more mean. It also didn't care less about human existence or human happiness, and kind of bitter. You know what I mean? Or don't want to see people's success. You know, and wants to control people. Kind of like a really bad bully personality type. You know.
I've also noticed like there's a lot of them like sometimes a lot of them they like the ammonia, and so they smell like pee a lot of times. And these things are mostly like they give into homelessness and like just dirty nastiness. You know, like they like being like low, hygienic, and like they're just kind of like bums. I'm not saying every homeless person is like that, because I've met some people that are nice and just normal. But some of them like, and they'll be really ugly to these people. Like, it's kind of like Men in Black, you know, like the roach, you know, the farmer that got killed and got, you know, the alien, the roaches, they take over his bodysuit, his like skin suit. Or like the dog, you know, the pug is actually like an ugly ass fucking alien and shit. So they're disguised as. If you look at a lot of these people, they look really weird, like their facial features, and it's like their empathy, and they're just kind of lost. They're brainwashed and manipulated into, because they're in a cult, right? You'll notice, like if you look up human trafficking, you'll see a lot of like images of people that have been caught, and 90% of these people, 98% of these people, they look very weird because they're just so gone, you know, or they may be just humans in the flesh, you know.
Yeah, it's like their spirit, their energy, their essence been all
They're almost
sucked
like not
out of
even
them.
human anymore. Yeah.
I believe when a person become homeless, it has gotten to the point where these entities, they don't care about, they push that person so far. It now they don't even care. They just want to suck the person's energy until the person dies.
Mm,
You see what I'm saying? Because we are a
yeah.
body, like a bioenergy for them. So they're just hanging around just to absorb energy until the person just dies. And then they'll go to somebody else. Kind of like the movie Fallen, you know, because they can actually go somewhere else if they want to. But let me ask you though, if you were them and you have the choice to pick, you would probably want to pick a person that can actually hear you, right?
I would pick a person that's more interesting, like a superstar or something like that. But those people are probably like,
Oh, they already got tons.
yeah, there's so many pigeons around there, you know, like
every celebrities, every famous person, every powerful person, they got their own.
They're infested, huh?
They got their own entities, tons of them following them.
Yeah.
And but let me ask you this though: how many of those can actually hear them? Probably a lot of them can't, right?
Oh, so they want the attention, right? Because that's what they crave. That's how they're even significant in the person's life. Or
well, that's why
I hear you.
I like to say that they hit the jackpot on True TIs that were receiving voice to skull, because we're like a bridge of communication. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot, even a regular person that are not recognizing V2K. I mean, they're just a person that's there, but they wouldn't even know of their existence, right? Yeah. So it's like, even if they're messing with that person's life, that person, the living person, wouldn't even know they're being messed with. So it's not as entertaining for them, right? Because they're gonna try to get a laugh out of it. They probably want to know if the person recognized that they're the one that caused the misfortune or whatever, right? It's probably more entertaining for them to know that they can hurt a person and that person knows it's them and they can't do anything about it, right? As compared to messing with a person and that person didn't even know of these entities' existence, So they just wouldn't even think twice that they're what happened to them was caused by these entities. Just so happens with a lot of like divorces, like people fight at home,
Hmm.
arguing.
So
A lot of
they
things are
create all
caused by
this,
gang stalkers.
yeah,
Think
this
about it. Like
negativity, anger. Yeah.
think about it, like okay, when you go talk to your family member about this gang stalking, they would tend to be confrontational, right? Because they don't understand you.
Hmm.
And I always talk about how the gang stalkers are the one messing with their mind to kind of go against you as well. And
Hmm. Hmm.
so imagine that scenario in a person's home that are
Hmm.
non-TI, right? And all these arguments would start happening within the family, right? But then no one's a TI, so no one's even know about this type of stuff. But then they're just living with it, going through the motion.
Yeah, that happens a lot. I notice that with a lot of people, um, that I can tell just by their kind of like how they kind of tense up a little bit or like react to a certain situation. Like say, for instance, if you're talking to them like closely, you can tell like, oh, this person's like all of a sudden thinking or feeling a sensation or this or that. It's like V2K. Um, and they've been ignoring it so long and kind of like overriding it or like bypassing it for so long that they become good at it. I think everybody, like most of the population, goes through that because a lot of times, the anxiety. Like I don't know about you, but like I remember that wasn't really like a hot topic back in the day. You would hear it once in a while and people having panic attacks, but it was more like people didn't really pay attention to that. Like now everybody has anxiety, dude. Like kids have anxiety, dogs have anxiety. It's crazy, So I think that stems from the V2K, dude. That's what it
Yeah.
comes from.
Here's the thing: anxiety is a form of fear. I
Yeah,
see anxiety as a form of
absolutely.
fear.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the solution for that? I guess you're gonna have to be more prepared, or you're gonna have to be able to convince your own mind something empowering. And for me, sometimes, let's say I would tell myself, that's for me. What's the worst case that's gonna happen? Am I gonna die? I'm not gonna die.
Yeah.
So what's the worst thing that's gonna happen to me? And I try to envision the next day after, let's say I'm gonna give a speech or whatever, or sit in front of a crowd of people, or do something, do something. I would envision myself the next morning or the next afternoon eating lunch, and
Mhm.
and try to
Yeah,
just
exactly.
remind
Or
myself,
like
oh
a lot of times you could, yeah. So I think that goes along the lines with what I feel sometimes, or like I think I'm like, you guys been wanting me like gone for like 12 years. Um, I've gone to traveled here, done this, or like there'll be like a little day where I just enjoy like you know just sitting on the bench or something like that. I'm like, man, I wouldn't have experienced this or that if I would have given into that, and I'm doing it, I'm beating their ass basically every day. Um, but yeah, it's I really like your perspective there, Hanuman. I think a lot of us, we're so convinced like with the human part of it, um, where you have a better theory. I think I think it's more complex, and that's why it's harder for us to accept it because we're more dismissive about it. Where it's like, no, it's my fucking neighbor. But it's like, no, you're right. It might be like them getting manipulated and like V2K to correlate with what you're doing. And like you said, since you're the main target, everything and everybody is gonna like it's gonna be orchestrated to be funneled and focused on you, right?
yeah. I mean, thank you,
That's
thank you for the
insane.
compliment. And hey, 1-0, I can already tell you're really getting more advanced.
Yeah.
Each time I talk to you.
Another thing too, Hanuman, is like the being aware of it. So like
Yes.
once you start like, oh, like I'm being a little too distracted. I keep like typing something wrong or doing something wrong at work over something very small, right? Um, or like I haven't, you know, I've been feeling a little stressed, a little anxious So that's when you're like, oh okay. So the awareness of this, where you like reset and recalibrate, and you're like, no, I'm supposed to be untense, calm, loose, and happy, because there's nothing going on. I'm free. Supposedly, I'm in a free country, protected. I have a lot of rights, and I'm a law-abiding citizen. Then I have nothing to worry about, and I'm an employee or whatever, or I'm just walking the park or something. There's no reason for me to feel a certain way, and that I'll catch myself, and I'll be like, dude, I need to look at something funny. I'll go look at memes, laugh, or I'll fucking start singing or being goofy or whatever, and then boom, or I'll listen to something spiritual. Boom, I'll have a little tear, cry, whatever, tear jerker, and then I'll feel more human, more at ease, more like within my emotions. But the catching it, the being like, because you got to have a catcher, like a whole baseball team, like, if it's just like, if you're just doing if they're just like if they're just gonna pitch it to you, and they're pitching it perfectly, you're gonna strike out. You
Yes.
have to be aware of it. So yeah, it's a lot of work, and it's just like we can't really put our feet up and relax. It's like a continuous, like, no, 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 like, and training our brain and empowering ourselves, and knowing that this is your life. You were birthed into this system, and you don't have to accept their worry codes, their stress codes, their anxiety codes, they're always I don't know about you, Seventh, but with me, they're always trying to do the, oh, you're not adequate enough, you're not smart enough, you have like a character uh, fault, you're not disciplined enough, you're not focused enough. Just there's just something within you that you hinder yourself, and it's like, no, for so many years we believe that, and it's like, no, that's not true. I'm fucking awesome. um I'm very well capable of doing most anything that anybody else can do out here. um I don't know if you've experienced anything like that.
Oh no, I totally believe you. And
Yeah,
I guess the only thing you can really do is try to keep bettering yourself. I mean, just keep bettering yourself. Like you said,
yeah.
they told you that you're not good enough and all this other
No,
stuff.
they don't tell you. They like manipulate it for you to like fall into that. But it's like, and then like a lot of situations in our lives too, like we deal with narcissists and all kinds of shit, right? Where we're always at fault, we're always a bad guy for shortcomings or whatever. Something happens to somebody else, it's our fault somehow. um this and that, we get put on the spot in a certain time where we're feeling weak, or like we can't do a certain something, then we're the bad guy again because we're not coming through. There's always situations like that where we're sabotaged or undermined to appear like the bad guy, or not disciplined enough, or not smart enough, or not focused enough, not mature enough, or this or that. It's crazy, dude.
Well, I mean, it sounds like they try to make you feel guilty.
Yeah, guilty, and like just not smart, not anything. Like, where recently I've just come into my power where I'm like, nah, I am very smart, I am very dexterous, I'm very my vocabulary is probably not scholar like, but it's extensive enough where I can get by and stuff like that. And I can have like a good laugh, a good professional conversation with my clients, shit like that. And yeah, I'm a good typer. I can do my job correctly and everything like that. It's like, no, fuck you guys. Like, I'm fucking awesome. Don't make me feel like less than. So the awareness is what I'm getting at. It's like being aware of who you are.
Oh, okay. Well, sounds okay.
You're not a genius. You're no, and we trip up, and
See, maybe you just need to talk more shit.
yeah.
Because it sounds like you more on the defensive when they talk about you like that, and you just told them to shut up, whatever. And it seems
But
like
you see,
you're.
this hasn't been like it hasn't been like a direct conversation. It's been like a conspiring type of sabotage in throughout my life, where it's like, we want you to like eventually boom fail at this. You're doing good at this, but like soon enough, boom, you're gonna fail at it and stuff like that, you know. And it's like once you catch it, you're like, you see the pattern, and you stop blaming yourself, and you're like, no, wait, I know I'm good at my life. I am responsible, and I want to do things right. um why does this keep happening, you know? And then once you catch it and you're aware of little things where they're trying to set a play up or a script, um it's harder for them to for you to fall into that snare. um it's really crazy. So I think I deal with a little different things than you, Seventh. I don't know what you do for a living, but are you like, do you have any problems at work sometimes where you're like, I don't know whether this is becoming a problem
It sounds
or
like
like a
okay. It sounds like okay.
reoccurring problem? Mhm.
We have definitely different jobs.
Yeah.
Okay, I really like my job. I'm a truck driver, and I have
Okay.
my own freedom.
That's awesome.
So
Mhm.
so imagine this. So as long as I get my job, I start work early at like 5. I usually get done around the most difficult part. I usually get done by 9 a.m. So after that, I'm kind of relaxing, but I don't get home till around 3 p.m. But usually right after 9 a.m. when all the the difficult stuff, the important stuff are done, I'm just chilling. Like I can go to the mall, I can go try out
That's
a
awesome.
restaurant, I can go to like an estate sale, garage
By
sale.
what
I
time? After what time?
usually by 9 a.m. all the important stuff are
Mm,
done. I start
that's
at
really
5 a.m. So
yeah.
yeah, so and a lot of people are just barely getting up. You know what I mean? Or their day barely starts, but I'm already done. So after that, it just usually just very chill. But and then driving home. So I usually don't get home till 3 p.m. to anywhere from 1 to 3 p.m. Okay, see my time is not set, and that's also another good thing for me. So fortunately, with my job is like dealing with this gang stalking have really
Mhm.
helped me a lot because I know it's difficult for a lot of TIs out there with their jobs. And if you're
Yeah.
working in an office, that is so tough because in the office you have people everywhere. The voice to skull is going to really mess with the TI, and a lot of
Mhm.
TIs can't keep a job at an office environment because it's. I can
Yeah, they
imagine it's
make
very.
it really stressful. They want to, like put a lot of stress on like every word I type,
Yes,
every, click I make, every little decision. It's like pressure, 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 like, and they're like talking and just trying to distract me, and like
and, and at the same time, they can mess with your coworkers and make things more
hmm
difficult for you. So if
exactly.
you have any tension with any of your
And
coworker at
clients
work,
too, and,
yeah,
clients. Yeah.
any type of argument, disagreement, is any tension, they can use that as advantage to them, to the gang stalkers, and make that person think of you differently or look at you differently because they imagine there's some tension, some disagreement. Now
hmm
that person disagree with you on some things, that's an opportunity for the gang stalkers to further that. It's like a seed into that person's mind.
Yeah.
It's something that's not advantage to you, right? So they
Yeah.
could gang stalkers can keep uh, bringing that thought back into that person's mind and remind that person of the disagreement. And if you have more
hmm
disagreement over time, it keep getting stacked on top of each other. And now there's
Yeah.
going to be a whole list of thoughts that the gang stalkers can remind that coworker to remember you and correlate you to like whatever they experience, usually
Yeah.
disagreement.
That
So it's not a
I
good feeling, right?
completely agree with that. I also think like I don't know if this is just human nature, or what they've been doing to us, or it's like we tend to like um be like, okay, when we think of somebody, it's like um and like you said, if we had like a problem or a core or whatever with them, um it goes to negative, right? Instead of just like releasing all that from your body and from your head, all that negativity, all that like whatever. So where you don't hold a grudge, you don't hold no anger or anything like that, and you just release that person, and you're like, I'm not gonna wish this person good or bad. It's just it's what it is, right? You know, and then boom, and then you clear the air, you clear your mind. But it's like it's a good habit to, when you think about somebody, even if you have had like disagreements with them, even recently, just don't go straight to like, oh, bitch ass motherfucker, or like, she's a bitch or whatever. It's just like, just try your best to keep it neutral, like no comment, no nothing. Just, it's a person and that's it.
Yeah, very true.
I
And
don't know if that's just human nature or what.
well, usually when you start cussing about the other person, there's already a lot of bitterness, and
Hmm.
the relationship's already kind of tainted. So it's going to need a lot more work, a lot more positive experience to kind of bring it back,
Yeah.
And
So a lot of things we do and think have to be intentional, are the way we react. Take a
good
little
intention.
time. Hmm. Yeah, we need
And
to take a little more time before we react, before we do this or that. It's not always going to be perfect. Sometimes I think somebody at the store has triggered me, and so I'm like, what? Or I'll whisper something back, kind of loud, where it's like, "Fuck you, bitch!" Like, you fag, like with your stupid cowboy hat, or I don't know, something like that. But then I'm like, maybe I misheard him, and my brain just reflected it threw it in the trigger bucket. Uh,
well,
and
yeah,
now I'm thinking badly about this person. But when I keep looking at him and kind of listening to them, I'd say like with a cashier or something, they're just not even talking about anything. They're just like doing their little money interaction or whatever, and that's it. So
yeah.
then you
And
feel like stupid, because you're like, what? I was feeling this type of way about this person because I thought he said something,
no,
but
you don't have to feel bad. Now
yeah.
it's
Hmm.
the gang stalker using V2K to mess with you. So you
Mm,
can just now direct your thoughts towards the gang stalkers, your gang stalkers. So you can kind of, I always let mine know, um, all the bad things that are happening is because of them.
yeah.
And so don't hate the person, but you just hate on the gang stalkers because the gang stalkers are the ones that are causing you or causing that person to behave a certain way, right? So it's like relationship. You want to blame your partner for behaving a certain way, but you have to understand your partner is actually being manipulated by these gang stalkers, these V2Ks, lower voice to skull. So don't once you recognize that and you realize don't blame your partner so much, then it's more likely for you to be toughing it out than to just say, "Oh, you know what? It's over. I'm done. I'm leaving." Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I know it's kind of
Yeah.
off topic right now what I just said, but I just want to say something about this comment right here from Blake, talking about uh not knowing if it's your thought or other people's thoughts. Like I totally understand, and my advice to that is just recognize if it's a positive or negative thought. If it's
Mm,
positive thought, you believe in it's a positive thing, it's a good thought, just let it in. I mean, it has gotten to the point where I do feel like, is that even my thought? But the easiest way is just if it's a positive thought, just let it in. If
yeah.
you
You
know it's
know
a
what I've
negative thought,
noticed?
block it.
A lot of times, like, where you feel like you're not doing enough, where it's like, okay, I'm doing my best. I think I'm pretty good in my privacy, where I'm like keeping positive, not keeping any grudges. I'm laughing. I'm doing me, right? When you keep that attitude and you wake up and you go to work or you interact with other people out there, they're gonna reciprocate back to you like 100 times better, and it's gonna like naturally tell you, no, you're doing great. You know what I mean? Like, it's good that you're staying positive, that you're having a good outlook in life and stuff like that. But if you're just like grudgy, and like bitter a little bit and negative and like angry and focused on that, your face even starts changing. You start looking mean and like a little evil and stuff like that. It's like, no, dude, like I I make myself smile. I like whole teeth. You have to stretch out your tongue too a little bit. You have to like move your cheeks around a little bit because they want to stiffen up your face and just keep you in that negativity, bro. Like, and then you'll reflect that with other people, and then other people won't be as friendly with you. So it's a vicious little cycle, And like I said, it's just everything's intentional with us, Like we have to be aware about every fucking little thing.
I'm glad you brought up the face thing because one thing I like to do is, okay, I know it happens a lot, is I notice the blood flow to my face. Sometimes I would notice my face kind of stiff and pale, like you said. Not pale, but kind of like stiff. So what I do is I massage my face, right? Or better yet, if you can get a warm towel, wet a towel with some hot water, get it nice and warm, and put that towel over your face and leave it and massage your face with the towel for like a minute or two. Instantly, I notice my face become there's more blood flow to my face, and I look better in a way. It's like it's weird. It's like I notice myself looking better, rubbing after massaging my face with a warm towel, or just even using my hands. But prior to that, I would notice my face is kind of stiff, like really stiff.
Yeah, I have some friends here, the other friends that do content too, and that I'll tell them sometimes like, hey, dude, you gotta smile a little more. You laugh because everything you talk about is really serious, really, like you're going through it or something like that. I understand, but it's like you gotta laugh it off, and you gotta tell them to fuck off and go play with their vaginal, like go eat a bag of shit or something, I don't know, and do something funny, just fucking enjoy yourself. That's the last thing they expect. You got to hit them with that curve, with that fucking left hook. They don't expect that. They expect you to like always be like with your hands up, getting punched and jumped. It's like, no, we don't get jumped. We are the fucking ape. I've considered myself like a very dangerous person, but I am also very loving and very caring and respectable, but yeah, it's like I'm not gonna listen to another person, especially when this program supposedly doesn't exist according to medical and government officials. It's like, okay, so when I go out there, don't fucking, don't come at me all schizophrenic about it, because this shit's not happening. So you can play their game and beat them at their game. It'll be a lot of people against you, but you can trust me, you can beat them. And I'm not talking to you directly, Seventh, but I'm just saying, like, the chat and stuff like that. It's like too many people become too victimized to this shit, dude, and like too caved in to. We have to be careful though, because it's very distracting. Like it's like, and then you eventually start getting FOMO. I'll get that, like fear of missing out, and it's like I'll want to like stay up or something like that, or like see what's next, and it's like there's nothing really next. It's the same shit with these things, and they're just feeding off your tiredness and your weariness.
They definitely do feed off of our tiredness, and I mean, I agree with what you're saying, and another thing is
it's like to me, dude, it's like, okay, they can, V2K people, I don't care. It's like you're gonna have to fucking show me, dude. You're gonna have to come and talk to me, and it's gonna be. You better be very careful how you do it. You can do it in a cool way, respectable, loving way. Which this is never gonna happen. You know what I mean? They're never gonna like directly tell us, yeah, dude, like, yeah, or something like that. Or they're never gonna come at us sideways, like, what's up? Like, let's scrap and shit. Because I would love that, I would fucking love that. I'll fucking kill somebody in the middle of the street. Like, I don't fucking care, dude. Like, I know you don't condone that, but I don't fucking care. Like, and that I put that on my daughter's life. Like, I will stomp one of these motherfuckers out, dude. Because that's just how it is. It's like, okay, you want a war? We can play actors out there, but if you want to come at me sideways, I'm gonna fucking lay down the wrath of God on you. So
Well, I know you're a tough person. I know you're not scared of them, and
I know you're not either, but it's just like, and
I
then
don't I
yeah,
don't know if you
it
should
would
really
be a
hurt
horrible
anyone.
scenario. It's you sitting in prison over a fucking shit stain that doesn't even matter. These people don't.
Ex-
Most of them, they don't even have jobs. They're, like I said, they're crisis actors. They'll move from town to town, city to city. They're like trash babies. Like, you know,
Well, 1-0, I'll tell you something. I got something positive to tell you. This
uh,
coming next year, this coming April, okay? You're gonna know what they are, and you're gonna connect a lot of dots,
that's awesome.
and then you're gonna realize that what you said earlier about defending yourself and you know what I mean. You know that what you said earlier is it's just one of those things that
But if I see something that's like somebody that's wrong, and I feel the urge to say something about it or to help somebody that's being wronged, or if somebody needs help, and I feel it. Like the other day, I bought somebody some cigarettes, they're like $5. I don't know what compelled me to do that. It's not like I have extra money right now or anything, but it's just it's like courtesy things like that, man. Like or like people will bump into you and you're like, no, it's cool, man. No worries. And it's just little things like that go a long way. But it's like, if you want to hold a grudge against me because for some reason maybe you bet your fucking balls or something, um you know and now it's serious where people are like asking for that money or whatever the fuck, or whatever the reason that you're mad, um you know then let's talk about it.
well,
Let's
I
fucking
think
talk about it. But it's
the
just
buying
never gonna
cigarette
happen,
thing.
Hanuman. That's never ever gonna happen.
Well, yeah,
I've begged them, like, dude, I will, won't be mad. I just want to hear it from the horse's mouth. You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, I got those days where like I'm kind of heated with my gang stalkers, and they
Mm-hmm.
would always try to make me feel like, oh, the neighbors might call the sheriffs or whatever, like because I was maybe playing my audio a little bit too loud in the middle of the night.
Mm-hmm.
Because one thing I do is I play my audio outside throughout the entire night,
Mm-hmm.
and there are times when they kind of irritated me. I'll turn up the volume just a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and they would say, "Oh, the neighbors might call the sheriffs or whatever." They would make me feel scared of that, and I would just use V2K and tell them my neighbor's not going to do anything. They're not going to call those sheriffs on me.
And even
And
if they did, it's like, okay.
yeah, and I called them. I would tell them, I'm like, "Go ahead, bring the sheriff. I'll talk to the sheriff. I like talking to the sheriff."
Exactly. They hate it when you call their bluffs, where like,
Exactly.
okay, yeah. When you call their bluffs, it's game over. And when they're like continuously triggering you and putting images or whatever the fuck is going on in your inside, but you can control your outside, it's game
Mhm,
over. And you're like, okay, but so what's happening to me right now? I'm still
mhm,
breathing. I'm still coherent. I'm still healthy. I'm not hurting. Nobody's coming and attacking me. So what's your point? And
mhm.
they all fucking they fumble up, and they're bumbling idiots at that point. Like, whether they get desperate and nothing they can't do, you're just indestructible at that point.
But get this though. So
Hmm.
let's say for that same situation for a regular person that are not receiving voices call. So let's say the sheriff do show up. Those are the moments that are very tense because you have to understand the gang stalkers are also on the sheriff's head. So if there's confrontation, you ever seen moments on police cameras how everything just seemed like a normal conversation, and all of a sudden turns into someone run away or some confrontation, some back and forth, and then the cop pulls the gun out and starts shooting. Like that can just happen just like that. And a lot of that have to do with these gang stalkers can manipulate our energy. So if there's any argument or heated conversation, next thing you know, the person can just get so heated. It's like it's
Uh-huh.
almost like the person's possessed. Next
Yeah.
thing you know, just start cussing out, shouting things, might even throw up arm gestures, and the sheriff could start thinking that, oh, that person's swinging their arms, or like they're holding on to like a fork, and they try to tell them the person to drop the fork, and the person won't do it because that person's mind is actually not thinking about the fork, and it probably wasn't thinking that it's just a fork. I'm not gonna get shot over it, But then
Yeah.
throwing around hand gesture, and the sheriff was scared and worried for his or
Or
her
a
life.
lighter or something dumb like that.
And the gang stalkers can remind the sheriff, "Oh, they're gonna stab you with that fork," And that's when the sheriff could actually pull the gun out instead of a taser and actually really
Yeah.
do fire a gun.
Yeah.
So those
So these
situations could
things,
happen.
I've even noticed it, even as far as to say with sports, seventh, where like my team, like they'll manipulate them, the boys, like to maybe entice them to go out on a Friday, right? Because the football game's on mostly on Sundays. So go out on Friday, you'll be fine. You have all day tomorrow. Just fucking do the practice however you can, and then you'll be ready on Sunday. And then they'll keep going, and then they'll just fucking suck, where you're like, you should have beat this team, but it's like it just doesn't make sense. But it's like things like that where I get a feeling like it's like these guys are all like a little scattered brain right now. But I think I know why,
And
and
what's
like you said, it's
fascinating?
probably
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
it's like every facet in life, that they're doing it with babies up to the oldest adults and animals and everything. It's complete chaos.
What's one thing I want to say is, like, like these gang stalkers. Okay, they can manipulate people's mind, but
Yeah.
you and I, we can agree that each person is different, right? Some are just very passive, while some are very confrontational. So
Yeah.
it's also by chance, okay? By chance, we could be out and about. It just so happened by chance we kind of cross path with a certain individual that are just more the crazy, like more really confrontational, really just want to throw down.
Kind of
So
angry.
those are also the moment that the gang stalkers they could really use those moments and manipulate that specific person, that confrontational person. Maybe that is the moment that person could actually really end up hurting the TI. And that's what the gang stalker could also be waiting for, that moment. Because on a daily basis, you encounter people, you might even confront one or two people, right? From those videos from other TIs. The other person might just kind of argue back and forth, but no one's really doing anything, right? They're not getting physical. But the more the TI is confronting these type of people, it's very likely that one day just so happened that one person is so crazy, the gang stalker's been waiting for that moment for you to cross path with that crazy person that they can control, manipulate, and get that person to go over the top and to really hurt the TI.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't recommend TIs confronting people in public. And because it's not the people that are doing these voice to skull. It's these entities. And these entities
It's crazy how like the Bible says, it even says like be aware, because our battle is not against flesh and blood, but
yes,
against principalities and spirits in the air and stuff like that.
that's very true. That's exactly
Yeah.
it.
And it also says, love thy neighbor. That's the hardest commandment, I think, and it's a new one. The last commandment, Yeshua said, I leave you a new commandment, to love your neighbor, and even further to love your enemy. It's like, dude, who loves their neighbor really out here, especially their enemies, Um, but it's like what you're saying is kind of like, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense now. Like those two things correlate, kind of like perfectly there. Where
Well,
they're trying to just create chaos and confusion and separation and hate with the masses. It's like divide and conquer. And it's like, no, I'm not gonna like or love my neighbor. I'm not gonna love my enemy. This and that. It's like, why not? They're humans. We're not really each other's enemies. It's like these entities, these
exactly.
fucking, yeah, they're the real enemy and shit.
Because they are the one that sends in the idea to do something to take action to do something, and this action could be good or bad. Could be,
And it's always bad.
yeah, it could be harm or loving. So it's like, I don't believe humans would actually are the ones that would want to harm other humans, but it's also the right moment and the right thought comes in that can trigger the action of harming someone, and that thought usually comes from these entities to take the action to harm someone. That's what I believe in.
No, you're right. Or they'll just push us to an extent where we ourselves take it upon ourselves to become that angry and that irritated or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Where we think a certain way. Like I was telling you, maybe I need to really work on that. You know what I mean? Because what if, like you said, one day it does happen, off of just coincidence, and like I step into a situation like that where it's like, okay, somebody is like ready to drop, like, drop down like that, and then a certain thing happens, and say, for instance, I win that fight and I hurt this person really bad. Now I'm sitting in prison.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even though you win the fight, yeah, you get yourself into that situation, it's not worth it.
Yeah, but you really lose in the end. Like, it's like, and you probably not even going to see that person ever again. It's like,
Yeah. But here's
yeah,
the thing, though. It's also the TI needs to be aware that usually those are the moments that when you yourself is already kind of frustrated, and they love it when we get frustrated, because when we get frustrated, we don't, we just act. Basically, we just act, and when we act, that's when they send us
yeah,
these
our
different
instinct
actions.
takes over. Yeah,
So they
yeah,
like it when we get pissed off, and a lot of TIs are pissed off all the time.
yeah.
And every day walking around, they're like a ticking time bomb, and in that right moment, that heated conversation and the gang stalker
Or
can trigger action.
yeah, or it's
So
like, let's go shoot up a school, or like the
exactly.
the dumbass that went and shot specific neighbors or whatever.
Yes, yes.
And he was so convinced, and it's like, dude, that's just fucking bizarre to me. Or like this Walmart manager or whatever that just bought a gun, I think, inside the Walmart, and just started shooting people.
See, but those people, they didn't even realize they're listening to Lower Voices Skull.
Yeah,
Like,
they,
they
they're
just
they're
do
not
it
they
because
don't know, they're not really TIs. They're just like,
they're regular people.
yeah,
But the only most recent situation that happened with a TI was Stephen Marlowe, because he actually made mention of receiving voice to skull, but then he didn't realize that he actually believed those neighbors were actually the one directing the conversation, but they were only in the direction of where the voice to skull was coming from, and he just probably most likely just happened to look up. All it was that one initial time where he might be outside in the driveway and he heard voice to skull from the direction, so he looked up and he saw those neighbors were out there,
yeah.
and that's
And
the only time
these
it took.
things, they can make it seem like they can, mock or mimic voices. Yeah,
Yes,
imitate. Yeah,
they can. And that's the only one time that it needed to plant that seed into his mind. You see, when he looked up, he saw those neighbors, and the lower voices skull would kick in and be like, "Oh, those are gang stalkers right there." And that very moment is enough to plant a seed into Stephen Marlowe's mind. And from that day forward, the gang stalkers can use that seed against him and make him reminds him of, oh, when you go outside, better make sure those neighbors are not outside. Or whenever he drives by those homes of those neighbors, the lower voice of skull can remind him, oh, don't, like, you see how different variety of things that can happen they can use
yeah.
against him.
And then
And
you're
eventually
so
lets
focused.
yeah,
You're so focused on vengeance or whatever that you become blind to any other reason.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. When the reasoning is to realize that he's got no proof, like there's really no proof, and he haven't done all necessary to really confirm what his assumptions are true or not.
mm. Yeah, exactly. Like
Which is also bad, because he kind of like he's in a disadvantage because he was so bought into the idea that the
yeah,
neighbors were involved. So
yeah, and it's like, he had no concrete evidence at all. He just like, and even if they were doing that, like, I mean, killing them, I guess that was in his head the best alternative. Did he kill himself?
No, he fled and then he got caught.
Oh,
Yeah, in another state or something. But here's the thing, though. It's almost like it all happened on the same day. Like something pissed him off. He got so pissed off, he made the video, and then I think right after the video, he probably went and grabbed the gun, probably went and did that, you know? So it all could have just happened literally within like an hour because that video was only about 2 minutes. The one he made. I mean, he could have just been pissed off because when the TI's pissed, it could last for hours and hours, you know? So something must have pissed him off, and he was just kind of in that mood and wants to do something about it and want to kill the people, I guess, without thinking twice about what his action would be.
yeah, that's horrible, man. Like it's like, dude, like, oh, this other lady too, or somebody, they ran their car into like an Apple store that was connected to a hospital, killed a bunch of old people and injured a bunch of others. They were going like just really fast. All these bizarre things that are going on lately, it's insane. I mean, and we know what it is, we know what. Yeah.
And now, do you see the importance of the TIs now? Do you see the importance of what we're talking about right now? It's actually has a lot of weight, and it can actually really, it's almost like we have a purpose to help society, shape society a little bit better towards a different direction than the way it's headed right now. Can you kind of sense it now?
What's that? Like,
can you kind of, based on our conversation tonight, can you kind of sense that there's somewhat of a purpose for TIs to kind of educate people, almost like this is like that needs to be out?
And like, I also feel like, how like, I don't know if like the 5D or 6D, in the spiritual sense, I resonate with it, but we're lifting things, we're lifting others up. And I think if one of us goes to a new level, it's like we kind of like pull the whole, rest of us, good and bad, and everything in between has to rise too. It's just like, okay, one, because one part of the quantum sees a new level, a new opportunity, a new frontier, then everybody kind of in the ether is like, elevates towards that eventually too.
Yeah, it's almost feels like sense. No, I see what you're saying. In a way, it's like all this feels like it's pre-written. It's like it's kind of unfolding in a way.
Do you think, like, you remember in that Matrix, I think it was like the second one, where the architect, he tells Neo, we don't know why, but you always populate, you're the phenomena. And he's like, yeah, it's just really frustrating, but if we have to, we'll destroy it and we'll just rebuild it. And he's like, this is the 6th time we would have rebuilt it, blah blah blah. And then Neo starts tripping out. He's like, no, fuck you, I don't believe you, blah blah. It's insane, man, because then that's like, what the fuck is the point if they're just like, oh, rewrite, edit, pause. I don't know if you've seen that movie Dark City. The Dark City, with the Archons, they can stop time, and especially at night when everybody's supposed to be sleeping, everybody just stops and they can edit and introduce new things and like stuff like that. There's a scientist that he's the only human that can like communicate with them. He's like the bridge between them, and the main star, like he wakes up one day, also, and he starts finding all this shit out also. And it's kind of like the Truman Show at the end, where he goes to the edge of the city and there's nothing there. It's like a digital city type of thing. Yeah,
I believe you. Hey, should we have Truman Show?
Truman Show's crazy.
Comes April, when I show you, we are in like a Truman Show. Okay, seriously, I will show you. I will correlate with you and you. Everyone.
Okay, so if we're in it and we're stuck in it, like, can they just pay us a little bit? Like maybe pay a bill, It's like we get nothing. We get peanuts.
Well, I mean, I don't know how that works, but I'll tell you, if you want to talk about
Yeah.
money, my gang stalkers told me they have all the money. They have all the money in the world.
Mm.
But what I would tell them, I'm like, so what if you have all the money in the world? You can't freaking spend it, you know? But in a way, they can manipulate people's mind to spend it a certain way. So, but if you want to be more direct, they can't themselves spend it on their own. They need the help of humans to spend it.
Mm. But how does it benefit them?
I mean, in a way, I can think of benefit them. It's probably more technology with more energy. See, their major benefit here for them is manipulate people's mind. And since they don't have hands like us, right, they can't really grab onto physical objects like the way we can with machines and all this stuff. They can manipulate, control people's mind to design machines and build objects that can really shape like the physical world. You see what I'm saying? Because they can't grab onto like they can't just move like a giant boulder, but they can manipulate the human's mind and make the person go get a machine to move the boulder. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So their major benefit is the ability to manipulate the people's mind and make people do things.
Yeah,
And
it's like
the only
they
way to
put
do
strings.
that, and the only way to do that is for them to stay hidden. You see, that's why it's another way is if they stay hidden, they're controlling people in the background. People wouldn't resist because humans, we would resist. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we would be like, fuck you, you're just another person. Like, I'm not gonna listen to that, But yeah, it's like they put this fear over the whole city sometimes, or like this or that. It's like I don't know if you ever feel that like sometimes it's just like a weird, shitty day. Other days are just fucking beautiful. It's and it's like them manipulating that vibration that day.
Oh, sorry. My daughter is actually needs my attention right now. It's been a while. I actually have to
Yeah,
end this live stream right
yeah.
now.
This one went
I'm so
long, but
and I
it was
really want to
good.
continue it, and I also want to read the comment, but it's just I have to. My daughter is screaming. I have to go attend to her right now. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
guys.
Much love, man. God bless everybody in the chat, and thank you, Seventh.
All right. Yeah, no problem.
Thank you, man.
Talk to you next time.
Okay, bye.
Bye. All right, everyone. I want to go through all your comments, but it's just I have to go right now. I'm so sorry it's late. Thank you for joining me. But next time I will do this live stream earlier and read your comment. So I'm sorry if I can't get to your comment. I know there's a lot of activities. Sorry about that. Thank you all for joining me. I have to go now. Have a good night. Stream Hulk signing out.